her eyes gleaming with a resplendent pink light, poised to unleash illusions and purifying light. As Qin sensed the stable operation of the formation, coupled with the unwavering support emanating from the earth's spiritual veins beneath his feet, a sense of calm washed over him. He glanced at his steadfast companions, and the inexplicable tension gradually transformed into a surge of boldness. A smile broke across his face as he beckoned to the throng of ghostly figures outside. "Come forth, you rascals. Grandfather awaits. Come if you dare." Chapter 60. On the night of the full moon, the city is attacked by a horde of demons. The moon hung in the sky like a spoiled salted duck egg yolk, emanating an ominous dark red glow. The usually bustling Xiangshan city was eerily silent, disrupted only by distant explosions and inhuman howls that confirmed the city had not yet succumbed entirely to death. The Lingtai courtyard stood as the sole beacon of normalcy amidst the desolation and chaos, radiating a warm, greenish light imbued with the fragrance of bamboo. Unlike the sinister purple-black glow elsewhere, it resembled an oversized, electrified firefly, a striking sight in the pitch-black night. My goodness! Qin peered through the crack in the courtyard door, utterly captivated by the scene before him, which was far more thrilling than any horror film he had ever seen. Across the street, the small shop where he often bought soy milk and fried dough sticks was now swarming with distorted, writhing shadows. These entities lacked a fixed shape, resembling puddles of walking asphalt, producing unsettling, gurgling noises that made his scalp prickle. Was this the result of overturning a trash bin from the depths of hell? The variety was astounding. He had initially intended to adopt a lofty demeanor, uttering grandiose phrases about how the spirits dared to invade his territory. However, his tongue faltered, and he resorted to the simplest expression. "Wow, that looks like the mapo tofu from our school cafeteria has come to life." Yang Yingxue, squeezed beside another door crack, displayed no fear. Instead, she pointed excitedly at a creature dripping thick black liquid, exclaiming that the color was off, as the cafeteria's version was not this dark. Qin, he occasionally marveled at the peculiar thought process of this girl. Elise stood a few paces behind them, her brow furrowed, and her fluffy fox ears trembled anxiously. "They were very hungry," she whispered, her voice trembling ever so slightly. "They wished to consume this place, to devour the Lingzhou." Sun Xiaoxiao sat behind her collection of treasures, her fingers dancing over the virtual keyboard at lightning speed, muttering incantations. Energy readings are continually soaring. The physical form is unstable, and the energy is highly corrosive. Sample A37, suspected to be a conglomerate of industrial gelatin and resentment. My heavens, it has melted down the newspaper stand at Old Wang's place. She let out a wail as a monitoring screen went dark. I was just there buying comics. At that moment, a nauseating scratching sound echoed from above. The group looked up to see several creatures resembling large bats, their wings dripping with decaying flesh, clawing frantically at the formation's luminous shield, producing a cacophony of creaks and groans as green slime trickled down the barrier. Disgusting. Yang Yingxue could not bear it any longer, rolling up her sleeves and preparing to rush out, exclaiming she would turn them into meat patties. "Come back." Qin yanked her hoodie, pulling her back like a kitten. "The formation can withstand this. Don't go out there and make it worse. It's like a dumpling festival out there. Do you want to be a condiment? But they are so noisy." Yang Yingxue stamped her foot in frustration. Qin sighed, feeling the formation's energy consumption. It was manageable. The support from the Earth's spiritual essence was stable, and this disturbance was akin to mere tickling. However, he knew this was merely an appetizer. Indeed, as the asphalt and bats realized they could not breach the glowing turtle shell, they grew more frantic. No longer mindlessly charging, they began to stack themselves in layers around the formation's shield, using their bodies and malevolent energy to erode the shield's energy. Looking around, the courtyard was now completely enveloped by these twisted monsters, a dark mass so dense that even moonlight struggled to penetrate. "They are consuming the formation's energy," Sun Xiaoxiao reported anxiously. Although the support from the Earth's spiritual essence was robust, at this rate, the outer rock formation could only sustain itself for 3 more hours. 3 hours? Qin's brow furrowed. It had only just begun. "Qin, look over there." Elise suddenly pointed in a direction. Through the gaps between the monsters, distant figures emerged on the street. Ancient soldier spirits clad in tattered armor, wielding rusted swords, marching in disorganized formation towards the courtyard. Their eye sockets flickered with ghostly blue flames, and each step left a thin layer of black frost on the ground. Oh, they even brought some organized troops? Qin raised an eyebrow, but regrettably, their ranks were not very impressive, lacking even decent uniforms. Just as he finished speaking, the soldier spirits raised their weapons in unison, unleashing a volley of condensed black ice spikes towards the formation's shield. Bang, bang, bang. The ice spikes collided with the shield, exploding in bursts of black chill, causing the previously gentle shield to flicker violently. Black ice flowers formed on the shield's surface, cracking with a series of sharp sounds. The energy impact intensity has increased. It carries an elemental corrosive effect. Sun Xiaoxiao spoke rapidly, the pressure on the Qingxin Jingyu formation intensifying. Damn it, they even hit me with a debuff? Qin spat, feeling a surge of anger. These ghostly beings were quite cunning. He took a deep breath, forming hand seals to channel more spiritual energy into the formation's core. So you want to play tricks, do you? I'll give you something to chew on. He summoned a thread of life force resonating with the Earth's spiritual essence, blending it into the formation's operation. Instantly, the entire formation's shield glowed with vibrant green. The black ice flowers clinging to the shield melted away as if they were snow under the blazing sun. The surrounding low-tier malevolent entities, too, screamed in agony as they were doused with acid, emitting thick black smoke and rapidly dissolving. In a moment, a small patch around the courtyard was cleared. Haha, it's effective. Qin felt invigorated. The life force from the Earth's spiritual essence was indeed the nemesis of these malevolent beings. However, before he could revel in his victory, an even more chilling and vicious aura surged from the distance. Roar! A deafening roar echoed, reminiscent of a primordial beast, shaking the ground beneath them. From atop a 6-story apartment building, a colossal figure rose. Towering over 3 meters, a werewolf. It was enveloped in a coat of pitch-black fur, resembling steel needles, with muscular sinews coiling beneath its surface. Under the blood moon, its claws gleamed with a chilling light, and its pair of crimson eyes brimmed with an unadulterated thirst for slaughter. Unlike those mindless foot soldiers that charged recklessly, it fixed its astute, perhaps cunning, wolf eyes upon the Ling Tai courtyard, emitting a low, threatening growl from its throat. By heavens, this creature. Has it been nurtured on hormones? Qin's eyelid twitched slightly. Just by sensing its aura, it was evident that this formidable beast had reached the latter stages of qi refinement, even nearing its pinnacle. This equated to the peak of a martial king as defined by the Security Bureau, and it was on the verge of touching the threshold of a martial emperor. It was an elite werewolf of the Blood Claw tribe. Sun Xiaoxiao gazed at the soaring energy readings on the screen, her voice shifting in pitch. According to the Central Bureau's files, a werewolf of such stature must be at least a centurion within the tribe. A centurion? Regardless of rank, anyone daring to wreak havoc in this domain shall be turned into wolfskin bedding. Yang Yingxue was not only unafraid, but rather more exhilarated, as delicate violet lightning began to flicker around her, a sign of the primal, overwhelming energy coursing through her veins. The werewolf centurion seemed incensed by Yang Yingxue's provocation, howling a longer, more resonant wolf cry towards the heavens. As it howled, echoes of wolf cries reverberated from every corner of the city. In swift succession, agile shadows leapt between buildings, converging towards the Ling Tai courtyard from all directions. There were easily 2 to 3 dozen, though their sizes were slightly smaller than that of the centurion. Each bore fierce gazes and formidable auras. Unlike other malevolent entities that charged mindlessly at a raise, they scattered under the centurion's command, encircling the courtyard like well-trained hunters, seeking flaws in the formations and weaknesses in their prey. The pressure in the air surged several-fold. They even comprehend tactical encirclement? Qin licked his parched lips, sensing that matters were becoming increasingly dire. Just dealing with that werewolf centurion was no small feat. And now this pack of wolf cubs. He glanced at his companions. Yang Yingxue was brimming with fighting spirit, yet her cultivation still lagged behind. Ali possessed formidable supportive abilities, but direct combat was not her forte. Sun Xiaoxiao was purely a civilian staff member. Xian Xian and Shin Xinyu were also occupied with formidable foes on other battlefields. Could it be that this initial wave of substantial assault would compel Qin to personally engage these beasts? Initially, he had intended to conserve his strength for potentially fiercer adversaries that might emerge later, such as that so-called Shinto priest of Yada or the ninja leader. Yet, it appeared that shedding some blood was unavoidable. Just as Qin clenched his fists, preparing to take the initiative to eliminate the leading werewolf centurion and set an example. A melodious sound akin to a phoenix's cry sliced through the night sky, without warning. A brilliant azure sword light descended like a galaxy cascading from the heavens, surpassing the speed of visual perception. Its target was none other than the werewolf centurion poised atop the building, ready to launch a full-scale assault. The sword light was so pure and so fierce that wherever it passed, even the air seemed to part, producing a sharp, explosive sound. The righteous aura and will to obliterate contained within the sword light compelled the surrounding foul energies to retreat in fear. The werewolf centurion's crimson pupils suddenly constricted, an overwhelming sense of impending doom causing its fur to bristle. It emitted a roar of rage and shock, gathering all its dark energy and swinging its colossal claws capable of rending a tank, defiantly charging towards the azure sword light. Boom! A thunderous explosion resounded through the night sky. The blue-black energy shockwaves surged outward like a tsunami, instantly shattering the glass of nearby buildings into fine powder. As the brilliance faded, the werewolf centurion remained atop the building, yet the claw had thrust towards the sword light, along with half of its forearm, had vanished without a trace. The severed end was smooth as a mirror, and dark blood spurted forth like a fountain. Its massive body trembled violently, its face contorted with disbelief and agony. Not far in front of it, suspended in the void, stood a tall and graceful figure. Dressed in a sleek azure combat outfit that fluttered in the night breeze, she wielded an ancient long sword, its blade shimmering with a pristine azure light, unmarred by dust. Moonlight outlined her exquisitely cold and beautiful profile, her gaze serene and unwavering, as if the cataclysmic sword strike had merely brushed aside a speck of dust. It was Xian Xian, dispatched for tactical support. Her eyes swept over the group of werewolves, now stunned into silence, and her calm voice, though not loud, resonated clearly across the battlefield. This path is impassable. Chapter 61. The Battle of Barriers. Xinchuan's stunning sword strike fell upon the howling wolf cubs like a bucket of icy water, dousing their fervor. The werewolf centurion, now missing an arm, pressed firmly against the gaping wound, emitting a low growl that barely contained its agony and rage. Its crimson eyes fixed intently on Xinchuan, yet remarkably, it faltered. With a brief howl, it retreated along with the remaining 20 or so werewolves, disappearing nimbly into the shadows cast by the uneven buildings, leaving one momentarily stunned by the swiftness of their departure. How astonishingly swift, swifter than the ant below my apartment who rushes for discounted eggs. Qinan smirked, secretly relieved. To scare off a wave of the main force without engaging in combat was undoubtedly a stroke of good fortune. He raised his gaze towards Xinchuan, hovering in midair, and gave her a thumbs up. Miss Xinchuan, splendid. With a single sword, you have showcased the elegance of our daxia cultivators. Xinchuan gracefully descended, her Qingfeng sword already sheathed, her expression remaining as cool and detached as ever. She merely nodded slightly. It is my duty. They have merely retreated temporarily and will surely return. The pressure in other areas is significant. I cannot linger. Be cautious. With that, she shimmered, transforming into a streak of azure light, darting towards the area in the south of the city where energy fluctuations were most intense, arriving and departing like the wind, her contributions hidden from sight. Wow, Sister Xinchuan is so cool. Yang Yingshue's eyes sparkled with admiration. Then she turned to glare at Qinan. Look at her. Now look at you, hiding in your shell like a turtle. Qinan's face flushed with embarrassment, and he retorted defiantly. What do you know? This is called strategic planning. Holding the fort at the center. The demeanor of a great general, understand? I see nothing but laziness. Yang Yingxue mercilessly countered. As the two engaged in their playful banter, the lower-tier malevolent entities surged forth like a tide, persistently continuing their monotonous scraping endeavors, draining the energy from the formation with their bodies. The grating sounds of their movements and the squelching noises they made were enough to irritate one like a cat's claw against the skin. I say, are we just going to watch? Yang Yingxue began to pace restlessly, resembling a husky confined in a cage. I have all this energy pent up, it's maddening. Ollie quietly approached the edge of the formation, observing the distorted figures outside, and gently raised her hand. A soft, pure white light began to swirl around her fingertips, akin to the warm sun of early spring. Purity. She parted her ruby lips, uttering a simple syllable. The orb of white light expanded instantly, like a droplet of water splashing into hot oil, transforming into a gentle white halo that silently swept across the perimeter of the formation. An astonishing scene unfolded. The lower-tier malevolent entities touched by the white halo found their movements suddenly sluggish, the swirling dark aura surrounding them seemingly smooth and diluted by an invisible force. Even their nauseating howls diminished significantly. While it did not purify them as Qin and had done with the Earth's life force, it evidently weakened their ferocity and strength. It works. Yang Yingshua's eyes sparkled with excitement. Ollie took a slight breath, clearly having expended considerable energy with this area purification. I can only slow them down, weaken them, she said somewhat bashfully. That's more than sufficient. Qin quickly encouraged her. This is called soft control. Once controlled, they can be dealt with more easily. Little Shui, aren't you restless? Here is a task for you. He pointed at the malevolent entities outside that had been slowed and weakened by Ollie. Do you see those old, weak, and sickly ones? They are all yours. Use your thunder palm and give them a good thrashing through your gloves. Consider it whack-a-mole. All right, watch me. Yang Yingxue shouted with enthusiasm, rushing to the edge of the formation. She took a deep breath, feeling the primal blood within her boil slightly, and purple lightning began to crackle above her right palm. An improved version of the thunder palm that strikes from a distance. With a fierce shout, she did not rush out of the formation, but instead, through the protective barrier, she slammed her palm down with great force. Boom! A concentrated purple lightning imprint pierced through the formation's barrier, clearly. Qin had deliberately allowed a small opening for her, striking precisely upon a sluggish creature that moved like sludge. The creature had no time to scream before it was vaporized under the overwhelming force of the thunder, leaving not even a trace behind. Haha, delightful. Yang Yingxue laughed heartily, delivering another palm strike that turned a creeping centipede into charred remains. She resembled a child who had discovered a new toy, launching thunderous strikes without restraint, specifically targeting those soft targets weakened by Ollie, thoroughly enjoying the process. Outside the formation, the area lit up with flashes of lightning, the sounds of crackling resonating continuously, as she truly cleared a small section. Stable energy output. The formation's load showed no significant increase. Sister Yingshue's attack efficiency is remarkably high. Sun Xiaoxiao observed the data with excitement, reporting eagerly, not forgetting to provide professional advice, suggesting a point-shot mode to prioritize the elimination of higher energy reactions for stamina conservation. Got it. Yang Yingxue responded absent-mindedly, still fully engaged in her assault. Qin watched the scene unfold, where teamwork and division of labor were evident, and felt a sense of reassurance. It seemed that as long as they did not encounter elite monsters like the werewolf centurion from earlier, holding the line against these minions with the formation and their teamwork would not pose a significant problem. However, just as this thought crossed his mind, it was as if some unseen existence had overheard him, coming to slap him in the face. Beep, beep, beep. The device in front of Sun Xiaoxiao suddenly emitted a piercing alarm, distinct from the previous warnings. On the screen, a target representing high energy and high velocity was rapidly approaching from afar. Its energy response even surpassed that of the werewolf centurion earlier. Warning, warning, detecting high-speed unit approaching. Energy level. Initial stage of the martial sovereign. It is a flying unit. Sun Xiaoxiao's voice trembled slightly with alarm. What? Qin's heart sank, and he abruptly looked up at the night sky. Beneath the blood-red moon, a colossal shadow was hurtling toward them at an astonishing speed. It was a gigantic crow? No. More accurately, it was a shikigami in the form of a crow. Its wingspan exceeded 10 meters, its feathers forged like black iron, shimmering with a chilling metallic sheen. Its bird-like eyes were a pure blood red, and its beak and talons glowed with a haunting purple light, surrounded by a chilling aura of resentment and malevolence. Its flight speed was astonishing. In mere moments, it transformed from a tiny black dot into an immense silhouette that obscured the sun, casting shadows that enveloped the entire Lingtai courtyard. It was the Heiyuya, a shikigami from the land of Wa. According to records, this formidable shikigami could only be commanded by high-ranking priests and was renowned for its speed and armor-piercing prowess. Sun Xiaoxiao swiftly accessed the relevant information. The Heiyuya showed no signs of hesitation. It executed a graceful yet lethal dive in the air, its massive beak resembling a siege ram, accompanied by a piercing shriek as it violently pecked at the apex of the formation's light shield. That point was typically one of the relatively weak spots in the formation structure. This is bad. It aimed to breach the defense. Qin En's expression changed dramatically as he immediately focused all his energy, channeling additional spiritual power and the vitality of the Earth's veins to reinforce the shield's top. Boom. The moment the beak collided with the light shield, a thunderous sound erupted, reverberating throughout the Ling Tai courtyard, as if an earthquake had occurred. The formation's light shield flickered wildly, its brightness fluctuating, while the spot where the beak struck developed fine cracks resembling a spider's web. Qin En let out a muffled groan, feeling as though his chest had been struck by a sledgehammer, blood surging within him. This creature's power was indeed terrifying. Damn it! How dare it dismantle my roof? Yang Yingxue, seeing this, furrowed her brows in anger, momentarily abandoning her task of dealing with the ground moles. She gathered all her strength to unleash a purple lightning bolt, significantly thicker than before, aimed directly at the Heiyuya soaring in the sky. Take this, my electromagnetic cannon. The lightning bolt moved at incredible speed, but the Heiyuya's reflexes were even swifter. With a slight flap of its iron wings, it glided effortlessly to the side, evading the bolt. Then, with its blood-red eyes, it cast a cold and disdainful glance at Yang Yingxue, as if regarding an insignificant insect. Bastard! Don't you dare dodge. Yang Yingxue's attack missed, and she stomped her foot in frustration. The Heiyuya disregarded her, ascending once more to prepare for a second, more ferocious dive. It had realized that although the shell beneath was hard, it was not unbreakable. Qin En's expression grew grave as he hurriedly mended the cracks at the top. Being on the defensive was too disadvantageous. This feathered beast moved too quickly. Yang Yingxue's attacks were unlikely to hit, and Ali's purification had limited effect on such a powerful physical shikigami. Must I resort to the chaotic energy? But that is a trump card. Would it be too extravagant to use it against just one shikigami? Just as he hesitated, the Heiyuya had completed its charge, its wings folding in, like a black meteor, descending at an even faster speed and with greater ferocity towards the apex of the formation's light shield. This time, the purple-black evil energy coalescing on its beak had nearly become tangible. As the lethal beak prepared to strike once more, Sun Xiaoxiao, who had been quietly stationed at her workstation, suddenly gritted her teeth, as if resolving to make a critical decision. She quickly retrieved something from her enormous backpack, which resembled a child's toy rocket launcher. It was entirely silver, adorned with several cute cartoon stickers. Qin En, clear the top area. Give me 3 seconds. Sun Xiaoxiao shouted, her voice tinged with tension. Although Qin En was uncertain of her intentions, he still held a modicum of trust in her technological prowess. He immediately ceased channeling energy to the top and shifted his defensive focus to other areas. Sun Xiaoxiao hoisted the toy-like rocket launcher and aimed it at the plummeting Heiyuya, her face flushed with determination as she chanted, locking spatial coordinates. Energy infusion. Interference field activation. Please. It must succeed. She pressed down on the red button, resembling a candy-coated bean. Whoosh. There was no fire, no explosion, only a barely audible sound of air being sliced. A nearly imperceptible, distorted transparent wave shot forth from the launcher, striking the rapidly moving Heiyuya in an instant. No physical damage was inflicted. However, the Heiyuya, which had been diving like a black meteor, suddenly faltered. The space around it seemed to transform into a viscous substance, akin to a television screen with poor reception, beginning to exhibit bizarre distortions and flickers. Its smooth and lethal dive trajectory was interrupted. It appeared to be ensnared in an invisible mire, its movements becoming exceedingly slow and awkward, swaying as if intoxicated. It succeeded. Sun Xiaoxiao set down the rocket launcher, nearly moved to tears, exclaiming, I did it. I truly did it. The portable spatial disturber. It can briefly warp local spatial rules, interfering with the motion of high-speed entities. This was the first practical application of a laboratory product. Well done, Xiaoxiao. Qin En rejoiced, feeling as though divine assistance had arrived. A golden opportunity. Yang Yingxue would not let this target escape. She once more summoned the lightning, this time pouring all her bloodline power into it. Her right palm transformed into a resplendent deep purple. Strike true. A purple lightning dragon, as thick as a barrel and honed to perfection, roared skyward. This time, the Heiyuya, caught in the spatial mire and struggling to move, could no longer evade. Boom. The lightning dragon struck precisely at the Heiyuya's chest and abdomen. The overwhelming power of the thunder erupted instantly, shattering the layer of hard iron feathers that covered its body and exposing the charred flesh and bones within. Caw! The Heyuye emitted a shrill cry filled with agony and disbelief, its massive form plummeting like a puppet with severed strings, trailing black smoke as it crashed onto the roof of a distant abandoned factory, triggering a deafening collapse, clearly unable to survive. In the courtyard, silence reigned. Yang Yingxue panted, gazing at her palm, seemingly astonished by the immense power of her strike. Sun Xiaoxiao sat on the ground, clutching her rocket launcher, laughing and crying simultaneously. We did it. I really did it. Ali approached her side and gently patted her back. Qin observed this scene, his heart a mix of emotions, relief, fear, and above all, gratitude and pride for his companions. He looked up at the sky still shrouded in sinister clouds and the ominous blood moon. The battle was far from over, but they had, at least, withstood the first night of the city defense. Chapter 62. The Wolf King and the Sword Immortal. The exhilaration brought by the joint defeat of the black-feathered crow Shikigami had not yet faded when a commotion from the western part of the city caused the nerves of those in the small courtyard to tighten once more. The sound was not an ordinary wolf howl. It resembled the rusted horns of 100 bulls blaring simultaneously, resonating in a way that made one's head throb. Even the small pebbles on the courtyard ground trembled slightly. What on earth? Which demolition crew is this? Qin rubbed his ears, a look of dismay on his face. He scanned the western direction with his consciousness, and his heart sank immediately. Good heavens! A presence more ferocious and violent than the previous werewolf centurion surged forth, akin to a signal fire reaching the heavens, dispersing the lingering malevolence in its wake. The energy readings were off the charts. It was the Wolf King. The Wolf King of the Blood Claw tribe had personally entered the fray. Sun Xiaoxiao gazed at the glaring red dot on the screen, her voice altered by the intensity of the energy model analysis, indicating that its power was infinitely close to the mid-stage of the Martial Emperor. The mid-stage of the Martial Emperor. In terms of the cultivation realm, that equated to a solid mid-stage of foundation establishment. Even nearing the threshold of the late stage, it surpassed Qin's current early-stage foundation establishment prowess by a considerable margin. Almost simultaneously, a familiar azure sword light, resembling a waterfall in reverse, surged skyward from the southern part of the city, resolutely redirecting towards the direction of that fierce aura in the west. It was Xian. She had evidently sensed this greater threat and unhesitatingly abandoned her previous battlefield to intercept it. Can Sister Xian manage it alone? Ali's eyes revealed her concern. The oppressive aura of the Wolf King was overwhelmingly strong for her. She has to manage it. Qin sighed, his brow furrowed. If the Wolf King were to breach the western flank, the entire defense line could collapse. Damn it, these beasts truly know how to pick their moments. He felt a tinge of insecurity within. Xian was a sword cultivator at the early stage of foundation establishment, with unparalleled offensive power, yet facing an opponent of possibly higher realm, with tough skin and an exceedingly violent temperament like the Wolf King Xiao. Is there a way to see what is happening in the western part of the city? Qin inquired. I'll give it a try. Sun Xiaoxiao promptly operated her array of equipment, and soon, she accessed the permissions of a military reconnaissance drone hovering over the western region, miraculously undestroyed, projecting the footage onto the light screen. The image was somewhat shaky and snowy, but it still revealed the scene in the west. It was once an undeveloped industrial area, now resembling a site ravaged by a colossal beast, with collapsed factories and severed steel frames scattered about. In the center of that ruin, a figure stood out conspicuously. It was a gigantic wolf. Its size was even larger than that of the centurion, standing nearly 5 meters tall. Its fur was not purely black, but rather a dark, desaturated hue reminiscent of dried blood, its muscles bulging as if ready to explode. Unlike other werewolves, it did not roar. It simply stood there quietly, its golden slit pupils scanning the battlefield coldly, like a monarch surveying its domain. Its mere existence exuded an oppressive aura that was suffocating. Not far across from it, Xian stood with her sword, her azure attire fluttering in the raging energy wind. Compared to the Wolf King, her figure seemed so slender and diminutive, yet the indomitable sword intent radiating from her, capable of severing all, resembled a divine weapon unsheathed, boldly challenging the ferocity of the Wolf King. Human girl, the Wolf King spoke human words, its voice deep and hoarse, possessing a metallic rasp. A glimmer of interest flickered in its golden pupils. Your sword is quite sharp. Unfortunately, Your cultivation is insufficient. Xan Xian remained expressionless, slowly raising her azure sword. Its tip pointed directly at the Wolf King. Those who trespass upon my territory shall be slain. Without further ado, the battle erupted in an instant. The Wolf King moved. Its massive frame displayed an alarming speed that belied its size, leaving only a dark red afterimage in its wake as it appeared before Xan Xian in an instant. A gigantic paw the size of a grinding wheel descending with a piercing shriek, ready to strike. Before the paw even reached her, the terrifying pressure had already cracked the ground beneath. Xan Xian's pupils constricted, yet she did not retreat but advanced. The azure sword emitted a melodic hum as a sword chi, condensed to perfection, erupted instantaneously. Azure Dragon's sword technique, reverse scale. The sword chi clashed violently with the wolf's paw. Bang! The resounding clash of metal shook the surroundings. The shockwave from the collision radiated outward in a circular wave, sending debris flying and shattering within dozens of meters. Xan Xian staggered violently, sliding backward for several meters, her sword arm trembling slightly, with blood seeping from her torn palm. Meanwhile, the Wolf King merely swayed slightly, a shallow white mark appearing on its paw. The disparity was stark. In terms of strength, Xan Xian was utterly at a disadvantage. Alas, the gap in power is too vast, Qin thought, his heart tightening. The offensive prowess of sword cultivators is formidable, yet their physical bodies are relatively fragile, especially vulnerable against brute force opponents. The Wolf King shook its paw, a more pronounced cruel glint in its golden pupils. A commendable sword, capable of injuring me. However, that is all it amounts to. It lunged again, this time with even greater speed and ferocity. As its claws swung, it conjured blood-colored winds, sealing off all of Xan Xian's escape routes. It offered her no opportunity to unleash her exquisite sword techniques, aiming solely to crush her to death with absolute force and speed. Xan Xian found herself in a dire struggle, executing the Azure Dragon's sword technique to its utmost, sword lights swirling around her like a dragon, defending without a single drop slipping through. However, each collision with the Wolf King sent her blood surging, her arms growing numb, and her sword momentum inevitably experiencing a momentary stagnation. This cannot continue. Sister Xan Xian will not be able to hold on. Ali clenched her small hands anxiously. Yang Yingxue was even more frantic, hopping in place. Damn it. If only my aunt were here, she would chop off those dog paws and soak them in wine. Qin's expression darkened, his mind racing. He could not leave the small courtyard. Yet he could not bear to watch Xan Xian falter. Is there any way to provide remote support? His gaze swept across the courtyard, suddenly fixating on Sun Xiaoxiao's array of equipment, an idea striking him like lightning. Xiao, can your space disruptor, at maximum power, reach as far as the western sector? Qin queried with rapid speech. Sun Xiaoxiao was taken aback, then quickly grasped Qin's intention. After a swift calculation, she shook her head in disappointment. No, it cannot. The distance is too great, and the energy attenuation is severe. Moreover, the prowess of the Wolf King is formidable. The spatial interference will significantly diminish, perhaps not even able to hold for a mere tenth of a second. A tenth of a second? In battles of this caliber, involving the Wolf King and Xan Xian, such a fleeting moment may create an opportunity, yet it is fraught with peril. What else is there? Qin turned his gaze towards Ali. Ali, can your illusions reach that far? Ali shook her head in confusion. It's too far. My power cannot reach it. Just as Qin felt a sense of despair, the battlefield displayed on the light screen abruptly shifted. A protracted defense must eventually succumb. The Wolf King seized upon a minuscule flaw in Xan Xian's swordplay during a moment of transition. Its massive paw striking at an acute angle, crashing down upon the spine of Xan Xian's sword. With a sickening thud, Xan Xian was struck hard, blood erupting from her mouth as her body flew back like a kite with severed strings, colliding heavily against a crumbling wall, which collapsed under the impact. The Qingfeng sword slipped from her grasp, embedding itself in the ground nearby, its radiance dimmed. Sister Xan Xian. Several voices cried out in alarm from the courtyard. The Wolf King let out a roar of triumph, advancing with heavy steps towards the spot where Xan Xian had fallen, its golden eyes gleaming with mockery and a thirst for blood. It intended to tear apart this audacious human girl with its own hands. Damn it, I must fight back. A glint of resolve flashed in Qin's eyes. He could no longer bear to watch. Even if it meant revealing his trump card, Even if it rendered him powerless afterward, he could not stand idly by while his companion faced death. Within him, the yin-yang Fei Sheng Ju surged violently, and a faint chaotic energy in his dantian began to stir, eager to break free and deliver a long-range disruptive strike. However, just as he prepared to act, an unexpected change occurred. The previously dim Qingfeng sword, embedded in the ground, began to tremble violently without warning, emitting a rising crescendo of sword cries. Within that sound resonated endless resentment, fury, and an ancient will that had long been dormant, now awakening. Suddenly, a purer, more condensed, and terrifying azure sword light erupted from the Qingfeng sword, soaring into the heavens. In the air, the sword light coalesced, faintly forming an ethereal image of an eastern azure dragon, complete with scales and claws. The dragon's silhouette circled around, letting out a soul-shattering roar. Its dragon might instantly overshadowed the ferocity of the Wolf King. The Wolf King, poised to deliver a final blow to Xin Xian, abruptly halted, its gaze drawn upwards to the azure dragon's sword shadow, disbelief, and a hint of primal fear igniting in its golden eyes. This is the awakening of the sword spirit? No, that is not it. It is the sword intent transcending the divine. She has broken through in battle? The Wolf King's voice trembled slightly. In the ruins, Xin Xian struggled to prop herself up, gazing at the azure dragon's sword shadow that belonged to her, yet seemed to transcend her being. Confusion flickered in her cold eyes, soon replaced by clarity and determination. She extended her hand, grasping at the air towards the Qingfeng sword. Buzz! The Qingfeng sword responded with a joyful hum, flying back into her hand. At the moment the sword returned to her grasp, Xin Xian's aura transformed dramatically. The previously waning energy, due to her injuries, surged forth like kindling ignited into a roaring blaze. The sword energy surrounding her was no longer merely azure. It now shimmered with a hint of silver, almost palpable, capable of slicing through space. Mid-stage of Foundation establishment. At this life and death juncture, she had actually broken through, wiping the blood from the corner of her mouth. Her gaze turned as cold as a 1,000-year glacier, the Qingfeng sword pointing directly at the Wolf King, her voice resonating across the battlefield, the essence of the Qinglong's sword technique. Each word she uttered seemed imbued with immense power, harmonizing with the sword energy and the azure dragon shadow in the air. Flash! Dragon! The moment her words fell, she and her sword became one, transforming into a brilliant azure rainbow that spanned the heavens. This rainbow was no longer just a simple sword aura. It had truly become a dragon that preys upon the unwary, imbued with the terrifying intent to annihilate all, capable of slaying even true dragons, as it surged toward the horrified Wolf King. This strike was faster than thought, stronger than brute force. It locked onto all of his energy. The Wolf King let out a desperate and unwilling roar, gathering all the dark energy into its claws, defiantly meeting the azure dragon sword rainbow. Boom! A thunderous explosion erupted in the western part of the city, 10 times more violent than any previous clash. The azure-black energy sphere expanded rapidly, engulfing a significant portion of the industrial area. The blinding light made it impossible to see, and the tremendous roar caused the entire Xiangshan city to tremble. As the brilliance and dust gradually settled, the scene displayed on the light screen left everyone in the Ling Tai courtyard breathless. Where the Wolf King had once stood, a massive pit over 100 meters in diameter now gaped. At the center of the pit, the once mighty Wolf King lay, its colossal body nearly cleaved in two, dark red blood staining the pit's floor, its golden eyes devoid of light, leaving only frozen terror and disbelief. And at the edge of the pit, Xin Xian knelt on one knee, propping herself up with her sword, her pallid face resembling parchment, her breath weak, clearly spent from that final strike, her injuries grave. Yet, she stubbornly raised her head, gazing at the corpse of the Wolf King. One strike, and the Wolf King was slain. The peril in the western city is resolved. My heavens! Yang Yingshua's mouth gaped wide enough to fit an egg. Ali covered her mouth, her eyes wide with shock. Sun Xiao was so excited she nearly smashed her keyboard. It's all recorded. The energy model of the sword intent breakthrough. This is unprecedented data. Qin let out a long, deep sigh, feeling the cold sweat soak his back. He looked at the indomitable and powerful figure on the light screen, his heart swelling with admiration, accompanied by a profound sense of urgency. His teammates are fighting with all their might, growing stronger. As the one possessing the earth vein's spirit seed and mysterious techniques, he could not afford to lag behind. He clenched his fists, sensing the warm power emanating from the earth beneath him, his gaze regaining its determination. The night watch has not yet concluded. Chapter 63. The Conspiracy of the Blood Count. As the tumultuous upheaval in the western part of the city gradually subsided, before Qin En and his companions could catch their breath, a more insidious and spine-chilling sense of crisis enveloped them, akin to a cold, venomous serpent stealthily coiling around their hearts. This was not a physical assault or the resounding clash of energies, but rather a silent erosion of their very essence. The first to sense the anomaly was Ali. Her pristine fox ears twitched slightly, and her brows knitted tighter in concern. Voices, so many voices, she murmured softly, a look of anguish and confusion crossing her face. They are afraid. They are doubtful. They are enraged. Almost simultaneously, the energy monitoring screens before Sun Xiaoxiao began to display erratic, chaotic spikes representing mental fluctuations. Something was amiss. A massive, high-intensity signal of mental interference was detected. The source, untraceable, as if magnified from the collective negative emotions of the entire city. Qin En's consciousness also perceived it. This was not a direct attack, but an exceedingly subtle form of mental pollution and suggestion seeping into the minds of the populace. It amplified their inner fears, suspicions, and despair, while ordinary individuals might merely feel an increased sense of agitation. For the extraordinary beings entrenched in battle, such influence could prove fatal. Command Center. Command Center. Team 3 requests confirmation of orders. Repeat. A multitude of civilian phantoms detected in the target area. Should we engage? Over. Damn it. Lao Zhang, are you out of your mind? Those are our people. You look like you've been possessed by a ghost. Chaos and disputes erupted within the internal communication channel of the Security Bureau, even outside the Lingtai courtyard. Some security personnel tasked with vigilance began to exhibit a wavering gaze, their alertness faltering, even instinctively aiming their weapons at what should have been their comrades. It is mental manipulation. Someone is orchestrating this. Qin En's expression darkened. Those who lurk in the shadows, launching covert attacks, are far more detestable than the frontal assaults of the Wolf King. A low, elegant, yet infinitely sinister laughter abruptly resonated within everyone's minds. The voice seemed enchanted, effortlessly evoking the darkest desires and deepest fears nestled within the human soul. Poor wretches, let them tear each other apart in fear. Let them march towards annihilation in doubt. The order and trust you hold dear are so fragile. The voice's owner appeared to revel in the sensation of manipulating others at will. Found you. Ali suddenly lifted her head, her gaze sharp as she fixed upon a direction in the southern part of the city. Her nine-tailed celestial fox lineage granted her an innate sensitivity to such mental stratagems. He is there, an ancient dark soul. It is a vampire. Moreover, a being of high rank. Sun Xiaoxiao swiftly pinpointed the target area based on Ali's indicated direction and data feedback, identifying a lavish hotel in the southern part of the city that had long ceased operations but possessed a complex internal structure. Energy signatures matched. It is a count-level vampire from the Dark Moon's Kiss. Codename, Shadow Weaver. Damn it. So it was this old bat causing the trouble. Yang Yingshui fumed, her teeth clenched in frustration. If you have the ability, come out and challenge me one-on-one. Hiding and playing dirty is no skill. The provocation is futile against me, you irritable little girl. The voice of the vampire count echoed once more, tinged with mockery. Is it not more entertaining to watch you destroy one another? As his words fell, the power of mental interference surged abruptly. Two security personnel on the periphery seemed to succumb to severe hallucinations, raising their weapons at each other, poised to pull the triggers. Awaken. At this critical juncture, Ali stepped forward. Instead of executing a cleansing wave as before, she closed her eyes, her hands forming an ancient and arcane seal before her chest. Behind her, two ethereal fox tails gently swayed, emanating a warmth, tranquility, yet an undeniable air of authority. It was not light, but a diffusion of an exquisite essence, like the gentle rain of spring or the warm sun of winter. A soft yet resilient mental force radiated from Ali, rippling outward like a pebble cast into a pond. This power was not aggressive, yet it possessed a marvelous capability to soothe wounds and dispel fog. The two personnel on the verge of shooting each other suddenly froze, the madness and chaos in their eyes receding like a tide, replaced by confusion and fear. The quarrel within the communication channel diminished significantly. Oh, The vampire count's voice carried a hint of surprise for the first time. A small celestial fox? How intriguing. Your soul, so pure and ancient, truly a delectable morsel. His mental power no longer scattered to create interference, but coalesced like a venomous serpent emerging from its lair, forming a sharply penetrating and corrosive mental assault directed at Ali's core essence. He sought to forcibly taint and control this troublesome little creature. Ali's delicate frame trembled, her complexion instantly paling. She felt a cold, viscous force, rife with the allure of corruption, violently battering against her mental defenses. Countless negative emotions and illusions burgeoned in her mind. The ridicule of her kin, Qin An's indifferent silhouette, Yang Yingshue's contemptuous glare. Ali, Qin An and Yang Yingxue exclaimed simultaneously, rushing to her aid. Do not come closer. Ali abruptly opened her eyes, which once held purity now swirling with a pink vortex, filled with overwhelming allure and chaos. Struggling to maintain the seal. Her voice trembled yet remained resolute. He is contesting for control of my mind. You cannot assist me. This was a perilous confrontation purely at the mental level, one where outsiders could hardly intervene, and any forced interference could inadvertently harm Ali. Qin An clenched his fists, his nails nearly embedding into his flesh. He could only watch helplessly as Ali bore the brunt of the vampire count's mental invasion, observing her petite form quivering slightly, cold sweat beading on her forehead. Little fox, surrender your resistance. The count's voice dripped with temptation. Embrace the darkness, and you shall gain unparalleled power and eternal life. Why struggle for the sake of these insignificant humans? Ali bit her lip tightly, even drawing blood. In her mind, flashes of helplessness during the failed tribulation on Fenghuang Mountain flickered. Along with the warmth felt after being brought back to the small courtyard by Qin An, the sincere yet rough affection from Yang Yingxue, and the myriad moments of laughter and playfulness shared with everyone, these memories, like a candle flickering in the darkness, though faint, remained unwavering. No, she struggled to speak, her voice soft yet imbued with undeniable resolve. This is my home, they are my family. The bloodline of the nine-tailed celestial fox within her seemed ignited by her will, erupting with an unprecedented radiance. That pink glow transformed from mere allure into a sacred essence, one that cleansed the soul and safeguarded her true self. To protect the heart-'s intention, with a delicate yet commanding shout, the pink radiance morphed into an unyielding mental barrier, firmly safeguarding her consciousness while surging back along the path of the count's mental assault. What? The count emitted a furious shriek. He felt his previously unstoppable mental invasion thwarted by what appeared to be a fragile barrier. Moreover, a pure and ancient power began to purify his dark spiritual energy in return. It was akin to his intention of dropping ink into a glass of clear water, only to discover that the water had transformed into a potent bleach, threatening to cleanse away his ink. In a luxurious suite deep within a hotel, a middle-aged gentleman donned in a classical tailcoat, with a strikingly pale visage, suddenly coughed up a mouthful of dark red blood, his vitality momentarily waning. He was the Count, the Weaver of Shadows. Clutching his throbbing forehead, his golden slit eyes brimmed with shock and malice. Damn the celestial fox, ruining my plans. He severed his mental assault on Ali and simultaneously ceased the widespread mental interference. He understood that with this little celestial fox present, his mental schemes would be exceedingly difficult to execute. Within the small courtyard, the suffocating pressure of mental energy abruptly vanished. Ali's body weakened, collapsing backward, only to be caught by the quick-witted Qin An. Her complexion was pale, breath feeble, yet her gaze shone brightly, laced with a hint of victorious joy. I blocked him. Well done. Ali. Qin An tenderly wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, his heart swelling with both fear and pride. He had not anticipated that this seemingly delicate Ali would unleash such formidable power at a critical moment, successfully repelling a soul attack even he found troublesome. Little Li, you were incredible. Yang Yingxue rushed over, excitedly patting Ali's shoulder with a commendable restraint, promising, Sister, I will treat you to ice cream for a month. Sun Xiaoxiao also breathed a sigh of relief, hastily reporting. The mental interference signals have significantly weakened. The chaos on the battlefield is under control. However, Qin An's heart was not entirely at ease. He gazed toward the direction of the hotel in the southern part of the city, his expression icy. Though this old bat had retreated for the time being, he was still alive. A Count-level vampire. Adept at mental manipulation and lurking in the shadows, was akin to a ticking time bomb. Nonetheless, the immediate priority was for Ali to rest. Moreover, following the intense confrontations with Xian Xian and Ali, it seemed they had gained a brief respite. Yet, Qin understood that this tranquility would likely not endure for long. The Wokaku and those Western mercenaries surely possessed more than just these tactics. The true test, he feared, still lay ahead. Chapter 64. The Master of Shadows, Ali lay unconscious, utterly exhausted, cradled gently in Qin's arms at the center of the small gathering spirit array, where vitality was most abundant and conducive to her recovery. Observing her pale visage and lightly furrowed brow, Qin felt as though his heart were tightly bound with a ball of cotton, heavy and aching. He tenderly smoothed her tousled hair and whispered, "You have worked hard. Rest well." Yang Yingxue, anxiously pacing nearby, yearned to help, but was at a loss as to how. She could only remove her coat and drape it over Ali, muttering incessantly, "That old bat is too treacherous. When I encounter him, I shall tear off his bat wings and make a fan out of them." Sun Xiaoxiao busily conducted a basic life signs scan on Ali, confirming that she was merely suffering from mental exhaustion and posed no immediate danger to her life, which allowed the group to breathe a sigh of relief. However, the enemy clearly had no intention of granting them the luxury of sorrow or respite. Almost 3 minutes after Ali fell unconscious, a chilling and extreme killing intent, akin to invisible needles, silently pierced through the slightly lax defensive atmosphere surrounding them, precisely locking onto the core spiritual essence of the Ling Tai courtyard and the figure of Qin standing guard beside it. This killing intent was neither the wild rage of the Wolf King nor the cunning of the Vampire Count, but a pure, tempered coldness, existing solely to harvest life. Enemy attack. Highest alert. Qin's hair stood on end as he instinctively shouted, simultaneously elevating his state to its peak. The chaotic energy within his dantian swirling slowly, gathering strength for an impending confrontation. Yang Yingxue tensed immediately, purple lightning flickering across her skin as she scanned the surroundings with vigilance. Yet, there was nothing. Outside remained the tireless low-tier malevolent spirits, and the distant sounds of battle echoed on, as if the lethal killing intent had been but a mere illusion. Energy scan shows no anomalies. Physical detectors are unresponsive. Sun Xiaoxiao's voice was laced with confusion and unease, but my intuition tells me something has entered. Her spatial perception talent allowed her to detect a dissonance more acutely than any instrument could. Just as Sun Xiaoxiao's words fell, chaos erupted. Behind Qin, the air, seemingly devoid of substance and only adorned with faint green life essence, twisted like rippling water. A shadowy figure, nearly merging with the darkness, appeared without warning. Clad in a form-fitting black shinobi suit and wearing a malevolent mask that concealed all but his eyes, cold and devoid of emotion like deep, frozen pools, he wielded no blinding energy, but a black dagger, barely a foot long, its blade dull, yet exuding an edge sharp enough to freeze even the soul. Ninjutsu, shadow escape, instant kill. His emergence was silent, his movements swift as lightning. The target of his dagger was aimed directly at the vulnerable point behind Qin. This strike encapsulated his lifelong cultivation and assassination skills, with impeccable timing, angle, and speed. He possessed absolute confidence that even a mid-stage martial emperor could not evade this lethal blow while caught unawares. He could almost foresee the familiar sensation of the dagger piercing flesh and shattering the heart. Yet, he faced Qin, a cultivator of foundational level whose spiritual acuity far surpassed his peers, ever vigilant. In the final moment before the killing intent reached him, Qin reacted almost instinctively. Without turning around or attempting to evade, a futile endeavor, he contorted his body in a nearly grotesque manner and swiftly twisted to the side. Sizzle. The black dagger, accompanied by an agonizing friction sound, grazed the fabric of Qin's side, slicing open a long gash in his clothing and leaving a shallow wound on his skin. The chilling blade's aura penetrated his body, sending a shiver down his spine. Missed. A flicker of utter disbelief and shock finally crossed the otherwise calm eyes of the black-clad ninja. His meticulously prepared, long-planned killing strike had been evaded by the opponent in such an almost underhanded manner. Waiting for you for ages. You sneaky old rat. Yang Yingxue, who had been seething with pent-up frustration, reacted with remarkable speed. Almost simultaneously with the ninja's appearance, she lunged at him like an irate female leopard. She refrained from using her long-range thunder palm, as the proximity could endanger Qin and Ali. Instead, she employed the most primal, violent, and direct approach, her fists. The ancient tyrant's blood surged forth, erupting in a brilliant display of deep purple akin to glass, as if thunder itself coursed beneath her skin. Roaring, she executed a straightforward, powerful punch aimed directly at the ninja's face. The punch compressed the air, emitting a thunderous sonic boom. Even before the blow landed, the oppressive sensation transformed the air around the ninja into a thick, viscous barrier. The ninja's pupils constricted. He sensed the looming threat of death from that punch. This girl's strength exceeded all his expectations. Without hesitation, he abandoned his attack on Qinin, retreating like a specter while hastily forming hand seals. Ninjutsu, body replacement technique. Boom. Yang Yingshue's fist struck the very spot where the ninja had been standing, causing the reinforced stone slab of the ground to shatter like tofu, sending debris flying, and leaving behind a half-meter deep pit. The violent power of thunder spread outward, obliterating several unfortunate low-tier malevolent spirits into mere ashes. Meanwhile, the ninja, in a split second, had exchanged positions with a nearby malevolent spirit that was currently crashing against a wall. Quick to flee, Yang Yingxue retracted her fist, glancing at the unfortunate spirit that had taken the blow, now reduced to a puddle of mush, and spat in displeasure. The ninja appeared several meters away, his expression behind the mask grim. He glared intently at Yang Yingxue, speaking in broken Chinese, ancient, tyrant body. No wonder, such brute strength. His voice was hoarse and dry, like two rusted iron plates scraping against each other. Brute strength? Yang Yingxue laughed in disbelief, cracking her neck with a series of pops, her body suffused with a renewed surge of lightning. Now allow me to show you what it means to conquer 10 with 1. With a powerful push from her feet, the ground cracked beneath her, and she transformed once more into a bolt of purple lightning. Lunging towards the ninja with even greater speed, the ninja's gaze sharpened, and he dared not confront directly. His figure became indistinct once more, blending into the shadows, swiftly maneuvering within the confined space of the courtyard, flickering as he sought to outmaneuver Yang Yingxue, using his speed and ninjutsu. He intermittently hurled poisoned shurikens, exhaled paralyzing smoke, and conjured shadow clones. However, in the face of overwhelming strength and velocity, these flamboyant techniques were rendered ineffective. Yang Yingxue paid no heed to the shadow clones or the toxic darts and smoke. Her combat style was brutally straightforward, focusing solely on the entity that exuded the most danger, and then, with fists charged with thunder, she barreled forward. The courtyard erupted with flashes of lightning and continuous thunderous roars. Yang Yingxue resembled an indefatigable demolition machine, relentlessly pursuing and pummeling the dark figure. Each time the ninja attempted to counterattack or employ his ninjutsu, he was violently interrupted and forced back by her ferocious, thunderous punches. His once proud assassination techniques and peculiar ninjutsu appeared as mere jest in the face of this violent girl. Baka. The ninja found himself in a pitiful predicament, filled with both shock and rage. He was a high-ranking ninja of the Yaki organization, a master assassin known by the codename Yin. Even among the formidable ranks of Yaki, he was renowned for his assassination prowess. Yet now, he was being dominated by what seemed to be an underage girl employing the most savage of tactics. This was a profound humiliation. In a moment of desperation, as he attempted to create distance using a substitution technique, his movements faltered by a fraction of a second. This minuscule opening was seized instantaneously by the battle-hardened Yang Yingxue. Got you. A flash of purple lightning ignited in her eyes, and her speed surged dramatically. Her fist, akin to a cannonball, pierced through layers of illusions and accurately struck Yin's chest. Puff! Yin barely managed to position his short blade defensively before being met with the full force of her thunderous punch, which channeled the might of the ancient titans. The short blade emitted a mournful cry, warping under the immense pressure. The terrifying energy coursed through the blade, unreservedly crashing into his chest. A distinct sound of bone fracturing resonated. Yin was propelled backward like a kite severed from its string, blood erupting from his mouth in a ghastly arc, crashing heavily against the wall of the courtyard, which caved in from the impact. He collapsed to the ground, half of his mask shattered, revealing a pale and horrified visage, his chest visibly concaved, breath rapidly fading. Yang Yingxue withdrew her fist, brushing off non-existent dust, looking down upon him with disdain. Tisuke, I expected more. Turns out you were just a fragile creature. Upon hearing her words, Ye Yin was incensed, spitting another mouthful of blood, his eyes rolling back as he succumbed to unconsciousness. The entire sequence, from the ninja's ambush to Yang Yingshue's brutal domination leading to his fainting, transpired in a mere minute or two, an astonishingly swift display. Qin observed Yang Yingxue, still crackling with residual lightning, resembling a deity descended from the heavens, and could not help but swallow hard. Truth be told, at times he felt that this girl, Yingxue, might be even more terrifying than the monsters lurking outside. He approached the unconscious ninja, verifying that he had lost the capacity to resist, then instructed Sun Xiaodao, Xiao, contact Zhao Gang and dispatch someone to remove this leader of the shadow flow and see if we can extract any intelligence. Understood. Sun Xiaodao gazed at Yang Yingxue, her eyes sparkling with admiration. Qin, however, turned his attention to the relentless tide of malevolent entities outside and the ominous blood moon hanging high. Though it was commendable to have repelled the ninja leader, the unease within him only intensified. These assaults came in waves, growing increasingly potent and cunning. It was as if they were probing, or perhaps exhausting. What were they ultimately waiting for? Or rather, was there something even more dreadful lurking in the shadows, biding its time? Qin took a deep breath, feeling the stable support emanating from the spiritual roots beneath his feet. Regardless of the circumstances, he had to hold his ground here. The night was still long. Chapter 65. The dawn of chaos. In the fleeting moment of bursting forth from the confines of the courtyard, Qin felt as though he had plunged into a viscous, frigid sea. From all directions, he was beset by writhing, malevolent entities, their foul stench nearly coalescing into a tangible form, invading his nostrils. Countless eyes, brimming with malice and hunger, fixated upon him, the sudden intruder, as they roared and charged forward. "Get away from me," Qin growled, unleashing a surge of spiritual energy that enveloped him in a thin layer of protective aura. With fists like cannons, he propelled the obstructing lower-tier evil creatures away with explosive force. He harbored no desire to linger, his target clear, the east, where the ritual node, a glaring beacon amid the darkness, radiated a potent wave of malevolent energy. His speed was extraordinary, weaving through the ruins and the horde of monsters with an ethereal grace. In his mind, the tenuous spiritual link maintained by Ali intermittently transmitted fragmented messages. Qin, be cautious. 3 kilometers east, abandoned stadium, main priest, at least 3 high-ranking priests. Xiao Shui, over there, immense pressure. Sister Xian Xian, entangled, by 2, Shikigami. Though the information was disjointed, it sufficed for Qin to grasp the general situation. A weight settled in his heart, yet his pace quickened. The closer he drew to the abandoned stadium in the east, the more densely packed and formidable the evil entities became. Elite demons clad in tattered armor and wielding runic weapons began to emerge, exhibiting a coordinated attack strategy that posed considerable challenges for Qin. A chilling blade of darkness sliced through the air from a cunning angle, and Qin narrowly evaded it, the edge grazing his ear and severing a few strands of hair. In retaliation, he retaliated with a powerful punch imbued with searing spiritual energy, obliterating the assailant along with its weapon into mere fragments. Yet, almost immediately, a barrage of attacks surged from all directions. Arrows, bone spears, corrosive energy orbs. Qin found himself struggling to defend against the relentless onslaught, his protective aura wavering as small wounds began to mar his body. He sensed his spiritual energy depleting at an alarming rate. At this rate, not only would he be unable to disrupt the ritual, but reaching the stadium itself would become a daunting task. A glance towards the stadium revealed the towering column of malevolent energy, mocking his audacity. Could it be that he truly had to resort to that? Qin hesitated. The chaotic energy within his dantian was his greatest trump card. A product of the yin-yang ascension technique fused with the earth's spiritual essence, an enigma even to himself. Utilizing it would entail immense consumption, and he could not predict the potential ramifications. Yet, at this juncture, it appeared he had no alternative. He recalled Yang Yingxue, who was desperately holding on in the courtyard, Ali, fragile yet striving to maintain their spiritual connection, Xian Xian and Xin Xian Yu, battling elsewhere, and the land beneath his feet. Now tainted. Damn it, he would fight with everything he had. A glimmer of resolve flashed in Qin's eyes. He ceased to hold back, countering the incessant barrage of attacks while fully channeling the yin-yang ascension technique. forcibly linking his consciousness with the faint tremors of the earth beneath him. His aim was not merely to summon chaotic energy, but to draw upon the untainted essence of life from the disturbed ley lines, merging it with his own spiritual energy and that chaotic essence in a reckless confluence. This process was perilous. With the ley lines disrupted, the energy was volatile and chaotic. A single misstep could spell disaster, shattering his meridians and collapsing his dantian. A piercing agony suddenly engulfed him, as if countless searing blades were slicing through his veins, while his entire being felt as though it would burst from the violent energy surging from the depths of the earth. His skin began to ooze fine droplets of blood, and his eyes were veined with crimson. Yet he did not falter. Gritting his teeth, he guided the torrent of energy towards the dormant chaotic essence within his dantian. It was as if the very first thunderclap of the universe reverberated within him. Upon contact with the tumultuous life energy of the ley lines and his own spiritual force, that feeble chaotic essence erupted, expanding explosively as if ignited by the flames of hell. An indescribable hue, neither black nor white, neither blue nor purple, seemingly encompassing all colors of the world, yet transcending them, radiated from Qin An's being. In that moment, the surrounding space seemed to twist. Those frenzied entities charging towards him, upon encountering this chaotic radiance, emitted no cries. They vanished silently, as if erased from existence. There was no explosion, no shockwave, only a pure absence of existence. Qin An stood in stunned silence, gazing at the thin layer of chaotic light that enveloped him, feeling a power within him unlike anything he had ever known, a force capable of both creation and destruction, filling him with awe. This was the true power of chaotic energy. He had no time to ponder, for the stadium was now within arm's reach. He could clearly see dozens of priests seated in a complex formation at the center of the stadium's soccer field. At the heart of this formation, 3 distinguished elders, resplendent in their ornate garments and exuding formidable presence, were orchestrating the ritual, wielding their artifacts and chanting incantations to channel the immense malevolent energy into the earth. Above them, a colossal, 8-headed, 8-tailed specter, symbolizing the monstrous Yamada no Orochi, composed of malevolent energy, slowly materialized, exuding an oppressive aura. Now was the moment. A fierce glint shone in Qin An's eyes as he concentrated the newly awakened, seemingly boundless chaotic power into his right fist. He did not employ any elaborate techniques. Rather, he simply launched a single, powerful punch towards the core of the ritual formation, aimed directly at the 3 high-ranking priests. Chaos. Shatter the illusions. A beam of chaotic light, refined to its utmost purity, embodying the primordial force of creation, tore through the night sky, transcending distance and instantly traversing several hundred meters to strike the heart of the ritual formation with pinpoint accuracy. There was no earth-shattering explosion. As the chaotic beam made contact with the dense malevolent energy, it was as if boiling soup had been splashed upon snow. The formidable barrier of malevolent energy, sustained by countless divine officials, the coalescing shadow of the Yamada no Orochi, and the 3 immensely powerful high priests, all of it, before the chaotic beam of light, dissolved silently and utterly like bubbles under the sun, disintegrating and vanishing. Even the ground beneath them formed a bottomless, mirror-like circular pit. One strike, just a single blow. The main ritual node, along with the 3 high priests, was completely erased from existence. Inside the arena, an eerie silence fell. The remaining officials gazed at the enormous pit at the core, staring at the vanished high priests and the heart of the formation, their faces filled with profound terror and confusion. Qin An spat out a mouthful of blood, feeling as though his very essence had been hollowed out, his vision darkening, and the chaotic glow rapidly fading. This strike had nearly drained him of all his strength and vitality. Yet, he held himself upright, for he sensed the agonizing struggle of the earth beneath him was swiftly diminishing, the sensation of being choked fading away. The leyline spirit seed was regaining its vigor. He succeeded. He managed a weak smile, his body swaying as if on the brink of collapse. Just then, a surge of intense joy and a warning resonated in his mind through the spiritual link with Ali. Qin An, you did it. The ley line is stabilized. But be cautious. A more powerful presence is descending. Qin An abruptly lifted his head, only to witness the space above Xiangshan City warping violently beneath the blood moon, as an indescribably colossal shadow, imbued with endless malice and a will for destruction, began to slowly coalesce. Was that the thought projection of the Yamada no Orochi's true form? With the main ritual node destroyed, was it about to descend in person? In an instant, Shinan's heart plummeted to the depths of despair. Chapter 66. Crisis at the Nexus. The exhilaration of Yang Ingxue after vanquishing the ninja leader had barely lingered for a few moments when a deeper, more disquieting disturbance surged forth from the city's outskirts, akin to the dark undertow beneath the surface of water. This time, the threat was not directed at an individual, but rather at the very ley lines of Xiangshan City, particularly the heart of the ley line spirit seed located beneath the Lingtai courtyard. A detection of an immense energy accumulation was reported emanating from the city's periphery. There were sources in all four directions. Sun Xiaoxiao's voice trembled with unprecedented terror as she announced that the nature of the energy was linked to a priestly sacrificial rite. They were forcefully interfering with the ley lines. Qin An's expression changed drastically. His spiritual awareness allowed him to vividly perceive that in the four corners of the city, east, west, north, and south, groups of Japanese priests clad in white hunting attire or black priestly robes were seated within a colossal formation drawn with blood and fragments of malevolent energy. They chanted ancient and blasphemous incantations, wielding their sacred bells and ritual implements, summoning vast amounts of sinister energy, like four invisible, filthy nails piercing deep into the ley line network of Xiangshan City. Their objective was clear: to corrupt the ley lines and sever, or at the very least, significantly weaken the connection between the Lingtai courtyard and the ley line spirit seed. A sudden tremor shook the Lingtai courtyard. It was not the result of an external impact, but rather a wail emanating from the depths of the earth. The small gathering array in the center of the courtyard flickered violently, its light fluctuating erratically. The once stable output of warm, pure life energy was now chaotic and sluggish, as if something were choking it. The composite protective array enveloping the courtyard dimmed abruptly and began to oscillate violently, resembling the surface of water disturbed by a tempest. The lowly malevolent entities that had previously been suppressed and purified surged forth like they had been injected with a stimulant, launching a more ferocious assault against the unstable protective barrier. This is bad. The energy supply to the formation is unstable. The defensive strength of the rock array has decreased by 30. The effects of the Qingxin Jingyu array have weakened. Sun Xiaoxiao observed the alarming red data flashing on the screen, her voice rising in pitch with urgency. The ley line spirit seed is being interfered with. It is struggling. Damn it. These damn invaders are too insidious. Yang Ingxue seethed, delivering a powerful punch to the nearby stone table, which instantly cracked under the force. Despite her strength, she felt utterly helpless against this long-range ritual assault. Ali, too, awakened from the sudden upheaval, propping herself up weakly, her face etched with concern. Qin felt as if an invisible hand had gripped his heart, tightening with each passing moment. He could distinctly sense the pain and struggle emanating from the earth beneath his feet. The ley line spirit seed resembled a pure child, forcibly held down by four tainted forces pouring poison into its mouth. Under the dual pressure of internal and external forces, the protective array emitted a creaking sound of strain, cracks appearing once more at the top and spreading at a visible pace. If this continues, the formation will surely collapse within half an hour. We must stop their ritual. Qin En's eyes burned crimson, veins bulging on his forehead. He attempted to channel more of his spiritual energy into the core of the formation, striving to stabilize it, but the effect was minimal. The ley lines were being disrupted, akin to a water source being polluted. No matter how hard he tried to draw water, it was merely a drop in the bucket. A profound sense of helplessness washed over him. Despite possessing foundational cultivation, being accompanied by the ley line spirit seed, and having the chaotic energy as a trump card, he found himself cornered by the enemy's insidious tactics. Could it be that he would have to watch helplessly as the formation crumbled? The courtyard was destroyed, and the ley line spirit seed was corrupted? No, absolutely not. A flicker of madness glinted in Qin An's eyes. He abruptly raised his head and shouted at Sun Xiaoxiao. Xiaoxiao, can you calculate the precise coordinates of the four ritual nodes, especially the one with the strongest energy? Sun Xiaoxiao paused for a moment, then quickly grasped Qin An's intent and began operating rapidly. Yes, but what do you intend to do? The distance is too great. Moreover, there are enemies all around. What do you think? Qin An grinned, revealing a set of white teeth, his smile tinged with a hint of ferocity. Of course, capture the leader before the minions. He glanced in the direction where Xian Xian had departed, then looked at the panting Yang Yingxue and the weakened Ali. A bold, even reckless plan swiftly took shape in his mind. Xiaoxue, can you still fight? Of course. I can fight until dawn. Yang Yingxue puffed out her chest, though her breath was slightly erratic. Her fighting spirit remained undiminished. Ali, can you establish a short-range mental link once more? No need to attack, just like before in the game S-Team channel, allowing us to communicate over distances. Ali closed her eyes to sense the energy, then nodded gently. Yes, but the range cannot be too far, and it won't last long. That's enough. Qin took a deep breath, his gaze resolute. Listen, we are now like grasshoppers on the same string. We cannot hold our ground any longer. We must take the initiative. I will go smash the most critical ritual node. Xiaoxue, you're responsible for guarding the courtyard. You must not allow the formation to break before I return. Ali, help me contact Xian Xian and Shinsinyu. Inform them of my plan, and have them restrain the enemies from other directions as much as possible to create an opportunity for me. It's too dangerous for you to go alone. Sun Xiaoxiao urged anxiously. There is no other choice. This is the only opportunity. Qin's tone was unwavering. Xiaoxiao, you stay in the courtyard, using all your equipment to assist Xiaoxue in defense, while also providing me with real-time intelligence support. He knew this was a gamble, nearly a last-ditch effort. But he had no other options. To sit idly by was to invite certain death. To take the initiative still held a glimmer of hope. He stepped into the center of the courtyard, feeling the waning ley line vibrations one last time, then abruptly raised his head, gazing towards the eastern direction where the energy response was strongest. Help me buy some time. As soon as the words left his lips, he hesitated no longer. The yin-yang Feixing Ju within him surged into motion at an unprecedented speed, unleashing his foundational spiritual energy without reservation. He transformed into a blur of light, not exiting through the front door, but rather crashing directly into the eastern side of the formation's protective barrier, where the fluctuations were most intense. Open for me. With a roar, he forcibly tore a temporary gap in the protective barrier, just wide enough for a single person to pass through. Whoosh! Qin's figure shot forth like an arrow, plunging into the boundless darkness composed of malevolent entities beyond. Qin. Yang Yingxue gazed at his resolute silhouette, her eyes reddening momentarily. She swiftly wiped away her tears and turned to face the surging monstrosities outside, her body crackling with lightning once more. Standing defiantly like a goddess of war at the breach of the formation. You scoundrels! If you wish to enter, you shall first tread over my lifeless body. Ali also mustered her strength to rise, her hands forming intricate seals as her feeble yet resilient spiritual energy endeavored to connect with her distant comrades. Sun Xiaoxiao gritted her teeth, her hands dancing across the control panel, creating a blur of shadows as she focused all detection and support functionalities towards the direction from which Qin had departed. The final defense of Lingtai Xiao Yuan had entered its most brutal yet pivotal phase. Meanwhile, Qin embarked on his solitary journey towards execution. Chapter 67. The Overlord. The ethereal shadow of the great serpent Yamada no Orochi surged wildly beneath the blood moon, transforming from a mere indistinct silhouette into a chillingly vivid form. Its colossal body, cloaked in dark scales, stirred the clouds, while 8 fierce heads emerged from the roiling malevolence, each howling with distinct anguish and malice. 16 serpentine eyes blazed with hellfire, fixating mercilessly on the exhausted Qin and below. The catastrophic pressure descended upon him like a tangible tsunami, suffocating him to the brink of breathlessness, rendering even the slightest movement of his fingers an arduous task. The faint vitality emanating from the earth's spirit within him flickered uncertainly under this terrifying weight, reminiscent of a candle struggling against the wind. Damn it! Qin knelt on one knee, summoning the last remnants of his strength to avoid collapsing entirely. He gazed at the horrifying entity that nearly obscured half the sky, a chill spreading through his heart. The chaotic energy had been depleted in that earth-shattering strike, his spiritual power utterly drained, his meridians feeling as if they were being torn apart. His dantian felt hollow, an unprecedented sense of weakness engulfing him. He could even smell the stench of blood and decay wafting from the immense serpent shadow, assaulting his sensitive nerves. He had no doubt that once that creature fully materialized, even a mere breath from one of its heads could obliterate him, a mere foundation establishment cultivator, into ashes. After struggling to reach foundation establishment with the pitiful techniques left by his grandfather, having taken in two beautiful, yet peculiar companions of great potential, was he truly destined to meet his end here? If his grandfather learned of this, would he rush to his rescue in embarrassment? Or would he simply scold, "You deserve it, you fool," for altering the techniques and standing idly by? Qin En's mind raced with chaotic thoughts, desperately attempting to dispel the rising tide of despair within him. Just as he was about to relinquish his resistance and prepare to meet his end with a semblance of dignity, a cold snort, seemingly inconspicuous, yet resonating deeply within every soul, pierced the atmosphere, extinguishing the tumult and turmoil of the battlefield in an instant. With that single syllable, the overwhelming pressure that had suffocated the air was abruptly seized by an unseen hand, halting its advance. The frenzied shadow of the great serpent, which had been roaring and coiling, seemed to have its throat gripped, its speed of gathering energy noticeably slowing. The 8 fiery serpent eyes turned toward a singular direction, revealing a flicker of uncertainty, even a hint of instinctive trepidation. Qin En abruptly raised his head, his heart racing uncontrollably. Above Xiangshan, the thick, oppressive evil clouds, which had been impenetrable, parted reverently as if bowing before an exalted sovereign. A seemingly ordinary azure light, initially distant like an inconspicuous star, transcended the boundaries of time and space, materializing in the very center of the battlefield, perfectly poised between Qin En and the shadow of the great serpent. As the light faded, an elderly figure stood with hands clasped behind his back. Dressed in a faded, plain Zhongshan suit, he was slender and not particularly tall, even somewhat stooped. His white hair was meticulously combed, and his countenance was as unremarkable as that of a retired teacher playing chess under a banyan tree at the corner of the street. Yet, as he stood there quietly, he became a stabilizing force amidst the chaos, the focal point of all light and order. There was no imposing aura or radiant energy emanating from him. He appeared as unassuming as an ordinary person. However, the calmness in his eyes, seemingly harboring the vastness of the cosmos, swept across the battlefield, instilling an indescribable sense of tranquility and an instinctual reverence that compelled those present to bow in submission. Li Daoyi the Elder? Qin En felt a surge of astonishment and joy, his voice hoarse from excitement and fatigue. This savior, this entrance, this return to simplicity, was all too timely and awe-inspiring. He felt as if he were a bullied child on the verge of collapse, suddenly seeing the most formidable elder from his family appear, wielding a rolling pin. Li Daoyi's gaze first fell upon Qin En, lingering for a moment on his bloodied, disheveled form, yet with a resolute spirit. He nodded slightly, and a faint, almost imperceptible approval flickered across his otherwise tranquil face. Then, he lifted his eyes to the still struggling shadow of the great serpent, exuding a terrifying ferocity. Such filth, sustained by blood and resentment, dares to manifest its true form upon the sacred land of my nation? His voice, though not loud, possessed a unique penetrating quality, resonating clearly within the ears and hearts of all living beings. The tone was unremarkable, yet imbued with undeniable authority and a detached indifference. Once, your masters, in their overconfidence, met their end by the shores of the East Sea, their souls scattered. It seems you remnants, who narrowly escaped, have yet to learn what it means to revere what constitutes an insurmountable boundary. The shadow of the great serpent seemed utterly incensed by these merciless and incisive words, the fleeting caution replaced by frenzied wrath. 8 heads opened their cavernous maws, unleashing a soul-rending roar that echoed through the air. The chaotic, dark purple energy surged forth like a breaching dam, mingling with countless anguished wails and curses, transforming into 8 massive torrents of corrosive energy racing toward the airborne Li Daoyi from various directions. The force appeared capable of annihilating the very sky, dragging it into eternal darkness. However, in the face of this devastating assault, which would send any foundation establishment cultivator, or even those newly entering the core formation stage, into a state of high alert, Li Daoyi remained unfazed, lightly flicking his sleeve. The gesture was devoid of any earthly substance, without a scintillating explosion of light or a deafening clash of energy. As the 8 torrents of malevolent energy, potent enough to obliterate cities and nations, approached Li Daoyi within a radius of 3 zhang, they collided with him as ferociously as tempestuous waves crashing against an unyielding reef, or as scalding snow encountering an invisible blazing sun, silently, disintegrating, collapsing, and purifying. It was as if that cataclysmic assault had never existed in this realm. Not even the faintest ripple of energy was stirred. Hiss! The ethereal form of the Yamada no Orochi emitted a shrill cry, imbued with disbelief and a profound, bone-chilling fear. Its 16 serpent eyes contracted violently, sensing the immeasurable, intrinsic disparity between the two parties. Annoyed by the cacophony, Li Daoi furrowed his brow slightly, displaying impatience towards the piercing shriek. He ceased his verbal exchanges and slowly raised his right hand. His movements were deliberate, almost languid, slow enough for everyone on the battlefield, including the mindless malevolent beings, to clearly perceive the minutiae of his actions. His fingers were long and well-defined, the skin bearing the marks of time, resembling the hands of a venerable scholar, accustomed to wielding a brush or scroll. However, when he pointed his fingers like a sword toward the colossal, menacing serpent shadow above, seemingly casually, a resounding, melodious roar erupted, akin to the primordial cry of dragons, reverberating from the depths of the earth, soaring skyward, resonating across the heavens and the earth. This dragon's roar did not emanate from Li Daoi himself, but from the very land beneath his feet, from the fractured mountains of Xiangshan, from the weeping rivers, from every inch of the disturbed, angered, and defended soil. It arose from the dragon Vane's will. Long dormant, yet now fully awakened. Endless azure brilliance surged from every corner of Xiangshan, from the ruins of collapsed foundations, from the cracks in the roads, from the ground on which survivors stood, and even from the places where valiant souls had perished, rising in delicate wisps. This was not mere energy. It contained the weight of the mountains and rivers, the resilience of flora, the flow of rivers and seas, along with the beliefs and wills of countless ancestors who had toiled through hardships to safeguard their homeland. It was the accumulated essence of this ancient land, brimming with the righteous spirit and humanitarian currents forged over countless ages. The visible azure radiance converged rapidly toward Li Daoi's outstretched sword finger, compressing and refining. Ultimately, it transformed into a sword aura, approximately 1 zhang in length, condensed as if forged from solid jade. This sword aura, while simple and unadorned, bore the faint echoes of vast landscapes, the meandering course of the Yellow River, and the silent but thunderous epics of civilization passed down through generations of humanity, resounding in a muted roar. This sword was not merely the strength of one man. It embodied the might of a nation, the soul of a clan, and the spirit of the land. At the moment the sword was formed, time and space seemingly shed their original meanings. All sounds, all movements, all colors froze and faded. In this vast expanse, only that seemingly minuscule, yet bearing the weight of myriad burdens azure sword aura remained, becoming the sole reality and focal point. It radiated not the intent to kill, but a will of judgment, a proclamation of order, an absolute rejection of the aberrant. The ethereal form of Yamada no Orochi let out a wail of utter despair, desperately contracting and contorting its massive body in an attempt to escape this thoroughly locked space, yearning to vanish into the void and retreat to its dark lair. Yet everything around it, rules, energies, even light, had long been imprisoned and suppressed by a force far grander and more fundamental, one that originated from the very essence of this realm. It was akin to a specimen nailed to the pillar of historical disgrace. All its struggles were in vain, leaving it to watch helplessly as the sword aura that determined its fate advanced slowly. Li Daoi's gaze remained serene, as if he was merely about to perform an inconsequential task long foretold. With his sword fingers aligned, he gently thrust forward toward the despairing serpent shadow. Slash! The azure sword aura moved. It did not rend the air, nor did it trigger a sonic boom, not even stirring a speck of dust. It simply traversed silently, as if it had always existed in that very spot, or as if it had crossed dimensions, directly manifesting at the nexus where the 8-headed serpent's power core and evil essence intertwined. Then it glided through. There were no earth-shattering explosions, no dazzling displays of energy collision, no dark cracks of shattered space. The colossal and fearsome Yamada no Orochi, which seemed capable of annihilating everything, began to unravel from the point where the sword aura passed. Akin to the failed strokes of a master painter being erased, disintegrating into the purest, most primordial essence of the world, rising like azure smoke, ultimately dissipating completely, merging into the very realm it had sought to defile. Even its piercing shrieks filled with resentment, unwillingness, and curses were thoroughly drowned, purified, and soothed by the grand, sweeping dragon's roar, leaving no trace behind. After the sword passed, silence reigned. The blood moon concealed itself, and the malevolent clouds dispersed. The warm and pure morning sun finally broke free from all constraints, casting its unreserved golden brilliance across the land, illuminating the remnants of shattered walls and the complex expressions of bewilderment, shock, joy, and tears on the faces of every survivor on the battlefield, as well as the crystalline points of light in the air, representing rebirth and purification that had yet to fully dissipate. Li Daoi slowly retracted his fingers, still standing with his hands clasped behind his back, as if he had merely brushed away a withered leaf that had fallen upon his shoulder during a leisurely stroll. He gazed down at this city, ravaged yet now radiating tenacious vitality under the sunlight, watching the figures beginning to help each other and clear the battlefield. A fleeting hint of fatigue crossed his profound gaze, soon transformed into an almost imperceptible sigh. Clean it up. These simple 3 words served as the final decree, unequivocally marking a full stop to the brutal and protracted defense of Xiangshan. Having spoken, his form gradually faded, akin to ink dispersing in water, ultimately merging into the warm sunlight that enveloped the sky, vanishing without a trace, leaving only the completely altered course of the battle and the indelible imprint of his almost divine silhouette etched in the hearts of all witnesses. Until this moment, the time, solidified by an invisible force, began to flow once more in rhythmic ticks. The relief of surviving a calamity surged like a belated tide, instantaneously engulfing everyone. Qin could no longer bear the weight of his exhaustion. With a thud, he collapsed onto the ground, sprawling on the frigid surface, gasping for breath as his chest heaved violently. He gazed at the cerulean sky, now devoid of any shadow, felt the warmth of the sunlight caressing his face, and listened to the distant cheers, tinged with tears, from his comrades, who were also reveling in their survival. His mind became a void, with only a singular thought echoing repeatedly, "Good heavens! Is this truly the realm of the Jedon stage? Old man, at what level did you truly navigate in your time?" Chapter 68. The aftermath of war and the silent evaluation. It has been a quarter of an hour since elderly Daoi departed, and the sun above Xiangshan has grown increasingly radiant, seemingly intent on evaporating all the accumulated gloom and filth of the past. However, the scene on the ground presents a starkly cruel contrast to the bright sky. Ruins and scorched earth litter the landscape, with dark red bloodstains visible everywhere. And the air is thick with the acrid stench of smoke, blood, and lingering malevolent energy. The surviving members of the Anomaly Bureau, martial arts practitioners, and civilian cultivators begin to mechanically and numbly clear the battlefield, gathering the bodies of their fallen comrades and identifying the remnants of worthless sinister artifacts. Occasionally, muffled sobs can be heard, or exultant cries tinged with tears when a surviving comrade is found. The Lingtai courtyard, being the epicenter of the battle, appears surprisingly quiet at this moment. The formation's protective barrier remains intact, though its light has dimmed and its surface is marred by a web of cracks, indicating severe damage. The courtyard itself is in disarray, with craters left by Yang Yingshue's violent dismantling of the ninjas and the ground corroded by malevolent energy, all in need of time for restoration. Yang Yingxue plops down next to Ali, disregarding her appearance, and gasps for breath. Her athletic attire is tattered in multiple places, soiled with dust and unidentifiable stains, and her fair face bears several scratches. Although she had just fought with great vigor, the sustained high-intensity exertion weighs heavily on her cultivation at the 8th level of Qi refinement. She gazes at Qin, who lies unconscious on the ground, pale and unmoving, then glances at Ali, who, though equally weak, is straining to maintain a minimal level of spiritual awareness to guard their surroundings. Frustration wells up within her as she runs her fingers through her hair. What is this nonsense? The fight is over, and both of you are down for the count. I still have to play the caretaker. She grumbles, yet her actions remain swift. From her storage artifact, a pouch adorned with a cartoon cat paw, she retrieves several fragrant pills that can quickly replenish vitality and blood. She carefully places one in Qin's mouth and offers another to Ali. "Little Li, you should eat this and recover," she insists. Qin is tough as nails. "He won't die?" Ali obediently takes the pill and swallows it, her pale complexion regaining a hint of color. She looks at Qin, her eyes filled with concern and lingering fear. nearly sacrificed himself to disrupt the ritual. Humph, always showing off. Yang Yingxue scoffs, though a trace of unnoticeable tenderness lurks in her heart. She reaches out, intending to pat Qin En's face to check for a response, but hesitates, fearing she might be too rough. In the end, she merely brushes away the bits of grass stuck in his hair. At the same time, Sun Xiaoxiao is busily occupied behind her pile of precious equipment. She quickly checks the vital signs of Qin En and Ali, confirming that Qin En has merely exhausted himself, falling into a protective stupor, while Ali has drained both her spiritual and demonic energy and needs rest, but is not in immediate danger. She then begins to scan and record the residual energy data across the battlefield, particularly the monumental force of nature invoked by Elder Li Daoi's intervention and the exceedingly rare yet potent energy signatures released during the vanishing of the Yada no Kagami. Incredible. The energy structure defies any known model. Is this the power of the core formation stage? No, this transcends mere energy. It approaches the realm of rules. She mutters to herself as she records, her eyes behind her glasses sparkling with excitement and curiosity, as if she has forgotten her fatigue and previous fears. And the data from Qin En's final strike, though fleeting, the annihilative properties, chaos, the void, a new analytical model must be established. At that moment, several figures approached the courtyard with haste. Leading the group are Zhou Weiguo, the director of the Xiangshan branch, and Captain Zhao Gang, both bearing the weight of exhaustion and residual shock, yet their gazes remain sharp. Behind them follow Xian Xian, whose breathing has stabilized but whose complexion remains somewhat pale, and another tall, cold-looking woman in azure attire, exuding an aura of chilling lethality, Shin Sinyu, who had previously vanquished the vengeful spirits at the dock district. Zhou Weiguo and his companions arrive at the edge of the formation's barrier, refraining from intruding. Clearing his throat, Zhou speaks, his voice hoarse. Young friend Qin, Miss Yang, Miss Ali, and our little consultant. Are you all right? Yang Yingxue stands and walks to the edge of the formation, her head held high despite her fatigue. Director Zhou, we are well. It's just that Qin En has exhausted himself and fainted. What is the situation outside? The situation is stable. Zhou Weiguo responds succinctly, a look of relief crossing his face. The invading malevolent entities and hostile superhumans are being thoroughly eradicated, with no significant remnants remaining. This time, we owe much to you all, and to Elder Li's timely intervention. His gaze sweeps over the unconscious Qin En, filled with unmasked gratitude and admiration. He knows well that had Qin En not taken the desperate risk to destroy the main ritual node at a crucial moment, Xiangshan would have already fallen before Elder Li's arrival. Xian Xian's gaze also falls upon Qin En, her cold eyes flickering slightly. Having barely escaped death in her battle with the Wolf King, she understands the perils and difficulties involved. The fact that Qin En, with his early-stage foundation establishment cultivation, could unleash the power to obliterate a ritual node presided over by 3 divine officials exceeds her understanding. Her assessment of Qin En rises significantly in her mind. This is Shin Sinyu's first formal appraisal of the reputed Qin En, having only seen him from a distance in the dock district. She now observes the young man, still frowning even in his unconscious state, exuding a hint of youthful stubbornness. Her gaze shifts to Yang Yingxue and Ali, who stand protectively by his side, and a flicker of curiosity crosses her cold eyes. How is young friend Qin? Does he require the Bureau to dispatch medical experts? Zhou Weiguo inquires with concern. No need. Yang Yingxue waves her hand decisively, embodying a sense of authority. He simply exhausted himself, and will recover with a few days of rest. Our courtyard has a spiritual spring that facilitates rapid healing. Zhou Weiguo nods in understanding, not pressing further. He glances at the damaged formation and states solemnly, Xiangshan has suffered greatly, and much work lies ahead. The Anomaly Bureau will fully assist in the reconstruction and enhance the defenses here. When young friend Qin awakens, please inform him that his contributions will not be forgotten by the Bureau. Once he recovers, I will personally come to visit. He briefly outlined the arrangements for battlefield cleanup and subsequent vigilance before departing with Zhao Gang and others, as they had an abundance of aftermath work to attend to. Xian Xian and Shin Sinyu remained behind. Xian Xian needed to stabilize her recently attained realm, while Shin Sinyu was assigned to temporarily assist in guarding the Ling Tai courtyard to prevent any remaining foes from resorting to desperate measures. As everyone dispersed, tranquility once again enveloped the courtyard. Yang Yingxue stood with her hands on her hips, surveying the disarray of the yard, Glancing at the unconscious Qin and the weakened Ali, she sighed. Well, it seems I have quite a bit to do in the coming days. Let's move this scoundrel inside. He can't just lie on the ground and breathe in the air. She bent down, carefully lifting Qin and onto her back, her movements surprisingly gentle as she made her way indoors. Ali also struggled to rise, following closely behind her. Soon Xiao began to tidy up her treasured equipment, preparing to set up a temporary analysis workstation in the courtyard. Unbeknownst to anyone, on the rooftop of a partially collapsed high-rise in the distance, a vague figure quietly emerged. It was Li Daoi, returning. He stood there silently, his gaze piercing through the distance, resting upon the unconscious Qin and being carried inside by Yang Yingxue, his expression as calm as a still pond, revealing no emotion. Yin Yang Fei Shengju, the spiritual essence of the earth, and that strand of chaos even I find somewhat inscrutable, he murmured softly, his fingers unconsciously moving as if calculating something. Qin Hao, you rascal, you stir up trouble far more than you did in your youth. Yet, this knack for trouble and potential does indeed merit the mess you've left behind. After a moment of silence, his figure slowly dissipated into the air, leaving behind a barely audible sigh that mingled with the wind. The matter at Xiangshan had concluded, but the true tempest was only just beginning. Young one, I hope you can grow swiftly. Chapter 69. Whispers in slumber and the gifts of the earth veins. Qin and felt as though he were adrift in an infinite, chaotic sea. His consciousness was hazy, and he had completely lost sense of his body. Only fragmented flashes of light and snippets of sound flickered by like fleeting shadows. He seemed to return to the Ling Tai courtyard, where he saw his grandfather, Qin Hao, holding an ancient, tattered tome, sternly admonishing him not to indulge in romantic pursuits until he turned 18, or else he would bear the consequences. He recalled the first time he practiced the yin-yang ascension technique, feeling the faint spiritual energy within him ignite like a spark setting a prairie ablaze. He remembered Yang Yingxue shaking her tiny fist and insisting on challenging him. He could see Ali with her helpless yet beautiful gaze during the tribulation on Phoenix Mountain. Suddenly, the scenes shifted dramatically. He was confronted with grotesque evil entities, soaring malevolent energies, the Wolf King's ferocious roar, the chilling whispers of the vampire count, and the blasphemous chants of the priests. Finally, there loomed the shadow of the eight-headed serpent that obscured the sky, alongside the azure sword aura that seemed capable of creating worlds and establishing order. Intense agony, profound weakness, and a flicker of something akin to the primal essence of life, a new awakening, intertwined and tore at his consciousness. Just as he felt he might succumb to this disarray forever, a gentle, aged voice emerged like a beacon of light piercing through dense fog, resonating softly in the depths of his awareness. Foolish child, the path has narrowed. This voice, was it the old man? Qin jolted, striving to coalesce his consciousness, yearning to grasp that voice. Yin-yang ascension is not merely about harvesting energy, it is about harmonizing the dragon and tiger, blending the cosmos. You may forcibly absorb the vitality of the earth veins and gain momentary advantage, yet it is akin to drinking poison to quench thirst. It is not a path to longevity. Chaos cannot be tamed by brute force. The voice was intermittent, seemingly emanating from an exceedingly distant place. Imbued with a sense of ineffable fatigue and concern, the spirit seed has spirit, it is not lifeless. To imprint the heart with the heart, one may attain the true essence. Your chaos is the genesis of creation, yet also the end of return. Be cautious, weigh it gravely. The voice gradually faded, ultimately vanishing as if it had never existed. Qin's consciousness once more plunged into a realm of chaos, but this time, he appeared to grasp some critical information. Absorbing the vitality of the earth veins, drinking poison to quench thirst, imprinting the heart with the heart. Chaos is both the genesis of creation and the end of return. He seemed to understand a fragment, yet simultaneously felt more perplexed. Uncertain of how much time passed, another sensation, entirely distinct, began to envelop his consciousness. It was warmth, encompassing and brimming with infinite vitality and soothing power, akin to returning to the cradle of life itself. It was the spiritual seed of the earth veins. It seemed to sense the awakening, or semi-awakening, of Qin's consciousness and actively emitted a gentle energy, nourishing his parched meridians and depleted dantian. Unlike the violent extraction of vitality he had previously attempted, this nurturing was akin to spring rain gently nourishing the earth, subtle yet enduring. That faint, almost imperceptible chaotic energy, under the tender cultivation of pure vitality, began to spin slowly as if it possessed life, no longer silent, but instead radiating a more restrained and profound essence. Qin sensed his fragmented consciousness, wrapped in this warm vitality and propelled by the self-rotating chaotic energy, beginning to gradually reassemble and heal. The agonizing pain of his soul being torn apart gradually subsided, replaced by an ineffable sense of comfort and tranquility. He could even perceive, at the center of the spinning chaotic energy within his dantian, the subtle flickering of minuscule points of light, akin to stardust, evolving into something. Was this imprinting the heart with the heart? Not through forceful extraction, but through mutual nourishment and growth together? In slumber, Qin seemed to touch upon a deeper connection between the yin-yang ascension technique and the spiritual seed of the earth veins. Meanwhile, in the outside world, 3 days swiftly passed. The Ling Tai courtyard, under the efforts of Yang Yingxue, primarily responsible for the violent demolition of damaged parts, Ali, utilizing purifying power to cleanse residual malevolence, Sun Xiaoxiao, providing technical guidance and energy detection, and occasionally assisted by Shen Xinyu, had begun to regain its tidiness. The damaged formation was slowly being repaired under the foundation left by Qin and before his unconsciousness and the materials sent by Zhou Weigua. Led by Sun Xiaoxiao with Xian Xian assisting, her understanding of formations far surpassed that of ordinary individuals. Every day, aside from assisting in the courtyard's restoration, Yang Yingxue spent most of her time by Qin's bedside. Though her words remained sharp, scolding him for being a beautiful sleeper who had taken a wrong turn in life, her actions, gently wiping his cheeks and administering liquid elixirs, were surprisingly clumsy yet careful. Ali recovered somewhat more swiftly. She quietly sat by the window of Qin's room, absorbing the faint vitality that had regathered in the courtyard to cultivate and adjust her state, while also dedicating a portion of her focus to sensing Qin's condition. She could feel his aura gradually stabilizing, transforming from an initially feeble thread to a more steady and prolonged essence, even seemingly more refined than before his unconsciousness. This brought her considerable relief. Sun Xiaoxiao utilized the past few days to compile a preliminary detailed report on the Xiangshan defense battle, particularly concerning the energy parameters of Qin's final obliterating strike and the national sword of elderly Dowie, though it was merely surface-level data. Preparing to submit it to the headquarters, she gazed at the screen filled with data that could overturn existing theories, her excitement rendering her cheeks flushed, feeling as though her research was on the brink of opening a door to a new world. On the fourth morning, as the rising sun once again bathed the courtyard in light, Qin's eyelashes fluttered slightly before he slowly opened his eyes. What greeted him was the familiar sight of the wooden beams of his room, adorned with fine cracks, and the warm, radiant sunlight streaming through the window. He was still alive. Moreover, he felt somewhat different. Chapter 70. Awakening Qin opened his eyes and acclimated to the light, instinctively attempting to rise. However, the sensations from his body momentarily stunned him. The anticipated weakness and excruciating pain were notably absent. Instead, he felt a profound sense of comfort. Though his spiritual power had not fully recovered, it flowed through his meridians with remarkable ease, even more refined and pure than before his unconscious state. Within his dantian, a thread of chaotic energy spun quietly. Its size seemingly unchanged, yet its hue deepened and subdued, swirling as if imbued with a unique rhythm. What is this? Have I truly turned misfortune into fortune? Qin contemplated his condition in disbelief. Of course. Do you think the pills I fed you these past few days were mere candy? A familiar yet slightly fierce voice echoed beside the bed. Qin turned to see Yang Yingxue, standing with her hands on her hips. Although still clad in her somewhat tattered sportswear, she exuded vitality, her face radiating unmasked joy and a hint of relief. Yet, this emotion was swiftly concealed behind her fierce expression. Finally awake. If you hadn't, I would have prepared a pot to stew you and see if you were done, she remarked with a teasing severity, yet she promptly handed him a cup of warm water. Drink up. After lying there for days, your lips are chapped. Qin accepted the cup, feeling warmth in his heart, and smiled. Thank you. He glanced around, noticing Ali standing not far away, gazing at him with her pure eyes. Upon meeting his gaze, she gently nodded, a faint yet breathtaking smile gracing her lips. Qin, how do you feel? Ali's voice remained soft. Much better. I've never felt this well before. Qin moved his limbs, surprised by his remarkably good condition. He looked out the window. Although the courtyard appeared somewhat disheveled, it had evidently been meticulously tidied, and the damaged formation base was under repair. How long have I been asleep? What is the situation outside? 3 full days and nights. Yang Yingxue answered eagerly. As for outside, humph, the little devils and those foreign rascals have been driven away. Elder Li single-handedly severed that 8-headed phantom with a single sword strike. Now the Security Bureau is conducting a sweep across the city. You should have seen the looks in Director Zhou and the others' eyes when they visited you. It was as if they were gazing at a national treasure. At this moment, Sun Xiaoxiao, Xian Xian, and Shin Xinyu also entered upon hearing the news. Sun Xiaoxiao, clutching her tablet, wore an excited expression. Qinan, you're awake. That's wonderful. Your vital signs just experienced a dramatic fluctuation. And I guess you must have woken up. How do you feel now? Is there any discomfort? Has your perception of energy changed? I've deduced some insights from the data on that chaotic strike. We should discuss it once you're well. Her rapid-fire questions made Qin feel slightly dizzy. Xian Xian maintained her usual cool demeanor but nodded slightly at Qin, acknowledging him, her gaze now containing a hint of recognition rather than scrutiny. Shin Xinyu merely nodded in a subdued manner, signifying her acknowledgement. Qin responded to each in turn, gaining a general understanding of the current situation. The defense of Xiangshan had been victorious, and decisively so. This revelation eased his worries. Just then, footsteps and hearty laughter echoed from outside the courtyard. Ha! It seems I have arrived at just the right moment. Qin Xiaoyu, you have finally awakened. The voice preceded the presence. And soon Zhou Weiguo and Zhao Gang entered, accompanied by a middle-aged man in a meticulously tailored uniform of the Security Bureau, adorned with golden dragon insignia, exuding an extraordinary aura. This man had a rugged visage, piercing eyes, and was evidently in the early stage of Foundation establishment. He was Vice Director Long Zhantian, the envoy sent by the Security Bureau to handle the aftermath and confer honors. Upon entering, Long Zhantian's gaze fell directly upon Qin, his sharp eyes revealing unreserved admiration and curiosity. Qin, what a remarkable young man. Indeed, heroes emerge from youth. In the Battle of Xiangshan, your contributions were monumental. Supported by Yang Yingxue, Qin stood, though he felt no need for assistance. Her grip was rather strong, and respectfully bowed. Director Long, you flatter me. It was merely my duty, a stroke of luck. Lucky? Long Zhantian laughed heartily, patting Qin on the shoulder with perfectly measured force. Single-handedly dismantling the main ritual node and turning the tide of battle cannot simply be attributed to luck. Elderly has sung your praises upon his return. At this, even Xian Xian and Shin Xinyu were slightly moved. To receive such commendation from Elderly was indeed significant. Zhou Weiguo chimed in with a smile. Qin Xiaoyu, Director Long has come not only to check on your injuries, but also to formally present you and your companions with the highest honor, the Dragon Pattern Medal. As he spoke, a subordinate brought forth an ancient purple sandalwood box. Long Zhantian personally opened it to reveal 3 ancient-style medals, dark gold in color, intricately carved with a lifelike 5-clawed golden dragon on the front and the words protecting the nation and its people inscribed on the back. The medals emitted a faint energy fluctuation, indicating they were far from ordinary. Qin, Yang Yingxue, Ali, official record name. Step forward to receive your honors. Long Zhantian declared solemnly. The 3 advanced a step, and Long Zhantian personally bestowed the medals upon their chests. This medal not only symbolized supreme honor, but also conferred numerous privileges. Those who held it could call upon local resources, enjoy the highest level of protection for themselves and their immediate family, and have limited access to certain databases and cultivation resources from the Bureau. Long Zhantian stated earnestly, this is the nation's and people's acknowledgement of your outstanding contributions. At the moment the medals were affixed, Qin felt a warm sensation emanating from them, as if establishing a connection with his very essence. He understood that these medals were not mere decorations. The awarding ceremony was simple yet solemn. Once completed, Long Zhantian's tone softened as he gazed at Qin, imparting a significant message. Qin, the matter of Xiangshan has concluded. However, the sowing plan has not been eradicated. The Yaqi organization and the ancient gods behind them, as well as those Western forces, will not rest easily. The Bureau hopes you can play a more substantial role. He paused, extending a momentous invitation. On behalf of the National Security Bureau's Supernatural Division, I formally invite you to join the Longhun Special Operations Group. This group reports directly to the Bureau, possessing a high degree of autonomy. specifically tasked with addressing such high-level supernatural threats. Your two companions may also join. Longhunt Special Operations Group, reporting directly to the Bureau, high degree of autonomy. Qin An's heart stirred. The conditions presented are undeniably generous. They signify that he will not only receive unwavering support and resource allocation from the national level, but will also maintain a degree of autonomy, free from complete institutionalization. He cast a glance at Yang Yingxue and Ali beside him. Yang Yingxue bore an expression that conveyed, "It's your decision. I shall follow you regardless," while Ali's gaze reflected a sense of prioritization of his leadership. Qin pondered for a moment before refraining from immediate acceptance and instead inquired, "Director Long, what will be required of us upon joining? What obligations must we fulfill?" Long Zhantian nodded appreciatively, acknowledging his calm demeanor. Obligations? Primarily, you will be expected to heed the summons of the headquarters and partake in operations during significant supernatural crises. In general, you will enjoy a high degree of freedom to cultivate and investigate related incidents. The headquarters will furnish you with intelligence, resources, and essential logistical support. In essence, you will function like a super fire brigade funded by the state, enjoying liberty in normal times, but ready to step up when it matters most. This delineation aligned perfectly with Qin An's needs. He sought resources and intelligence to bolster his strength against impending threats, yet he desired to remain unconfined. It sounded appealing. Qin An smiled, but stated, "However, Director Long, before I agree, I have a personal request." "Oh, please, go ahead. I wish to visit Kunlun Mountain first." Qin An looked earnestly at Long Zhantian. "The events at Xiangshan have made me acutely aware of my shortcomings in strength. Moreover, the Earth Vein Spirit Seed seems to have provided me with some guidance. I need to seek answers there. Perhaps I might also discover ways to enhance our powers." This notion stemmed from the vague impressions he received from the Earth Vein Spirit Seed during his unconscious state. Intertwined with the whispers of the Elder, Kunlun, the progenitor of mountains and the source of dragon veins, may hold the answers he seeks regarding cultivation methods, chaos, and the truths of this world. A glimmer of enlightenment flashed in Long Zhantian's eyes, seemingly unfazed by the request. After a moment of contemplation, he readily acquiesced. "Very well. Kunlun is vast and enigmatic. The headquarters has research stations there as well. You may proceed as prospective members of Longhan, and the headquarters will provide the necessary identification conveniences and basic intelligence support. Consider this your first reconnaissance mission." He extended his hand, shaking Qin An's firmly. "I hope to hear the good news of your formal acceptance upon your return from Kunlun." Thus, a new journey quietly commenced on that sunlit morning. Chapter 71. Undercurrents. The jubilant excitement and shock following the victory of the Xiangshan defense battle dissipated, much like receding tides, leaving behind a chaotic scene that required patience to clean and restore, alongside the more intricate undercurrents concealed beneath the placid surface. The Lingtai courtyard has become a veritable bastion of heroism and a strategic stronghold, with a steady stream of visitors each day. Technicians from the Security Bureau diligently assist in the repair and upgrade of the courtyard's defensive formations. Zhou Weigua and Zhao Gang visit almost daily, not only to inquire about Qin An's recovery, but also to coordinate various resources, ensuring the priority of the courtyard's reconstruction efforts. Upon awakening, Qin An's recovery was astonishingly swift. The persistent and gentle nourishment from the Earth Vein Spirit Seed, combined with the profound intricacies of his yin-yang Fei Xingju, allowed him to fully heal within a few short days. His cultivation stabilized at the pinnacle of the early foundation establishment stage, subtly approaching the threshold of the mid-stage. The strand of chaotic energy became more docile. Though still faint, it flowed with ease, as if it had become an innate part of his being. At this moment, he sat in the courtyard, observing workers cautiously replacing the floor tiles eroded by malevolent energy, while his mind pondered the old man's whispers heard during his unconsciousness. Channeling the vitality of the Earth's pulse is akin to drinking poison to quench thirst. Only by imprinting the heart can one grasp the true essence. His fingers absently tapped against the stone table, indicating that his previous method of forcefully extracting the Earth Vein's power in times of desperation was misguided. Instead, should it not be akin to fostering friendships, communicating sincerely, and resonating together? He endeavored to immerse his consciousness underground, not probing with a sense of entitlement, but rather extending his hand to gently touch the palm of an old friend. What he conveyed was no longer a demand for power, but a serene inquiry into well-being, akin to sharing sunlight together. Initially, the earth vein spirit seed remained dormant, instinctively exuding vitality. However, Qin remained patient, persistently and gently maintaining this contact. Gradually, he sensed the mighty core of vitality seemingly stir. It was not the painful struggle of interference, but rather a languorous stretching, reminiscent of a leisurely yawn. A purer, more harmonious warmth, closely aligned with his own attributes, naturally flowed back through his consciousness, nourishing his meridians and dantian, and even sharpening his perception of the surrounding spiritual energy. A breakthrough. Qin's heart surged with joy. This was indeed the correct approach. Although the pace may not match the explosive force of forceful extraction, it was enduring, gentle, devoid of side effects, and seemingly nourished the earth vein spirit seed itself, creating a virtuous cycle. Hey, Qin, what are you daydreaming about? Yang Yingshue's voice interrupted his contemplation. She hoisted a freshly cut, bowl-sized piece of jade bamboo, tossing it into the courtyard with a clang. Look at this bamboo. Using it as a foundation for the formation will transmit vital energy better than the previous jade stones. Qin gazed at the spirit-infused bamboo, then at Yang Yingshue's eager face, torn between laughter and tears. My dear aunt, which bamboo grove did you ravage for this? It's evident this is no ordinary specimen. Right from the back mountain. I thought it looked the most appealing, so I chopped it down. Yang Yingxue declared with conviction. Don't worry, I left one behind. Perhaps it will grow back in a few years. Qin shook his head, too weary to argue with her. He noticed that since the Battle of Shangshan, she seemed increasingly proud of her extraordinary strength. Having previously displayed a modicum of restraint, now she was entirely unbridled. Beside them, Ali quietly practiced her mastery over her own powers. Two ethereal fox tails swayed gently behind her, with pink light swirling around her fingertips, transforming into enchanting illusions one moment and purifying light the next, switching seamlessly. Her cultivation stabilized at the pinnacle of the 6th layer of qi refinement, her aura more reined in and pure. After the psychic duel with the vampire count, her mind appeared to have matured significantly. Sun Xiao was the busiest among them. Not only did she guide the repair of formations, but she also organized and analyzed vast amounts of battle data, drafting reports while managing the inquiries from the headquarters regarding Qin's chaotic strike and Li Dao's national sword. Of course, these were filtered and selected under Long Zhantian's guidance. Her enormous backpack now brimmed with several new buzzing devices. Xian Xian and Shun Xinyu temporarily remained in the courtyard. Xian Xian needed to solidify her mid-foundation establishment realm while also researching how to combine the Qinglong sword technique with the vitality of the earth vein, seeking new breakthroughs. Shun Xinyu was responsible for perimeter security and liaising with the headquarters. Though few words escaped her lips, she was exceptionally competent and reliable, occasionally sparring with Xian Xian. The duels between these two icy beauties, both adept swordswomen, became a unique spectacle within the courtyard. That afternoon, an unexpected visitor disrupted the relatively tranquil restoration period of the courtyard. The newcomer was Yang Zhantian, the vice president of the Martial Arts Association. Dressed in a brand new training outfit, he bore an unmistakable air of embarrassment and apprehension. Accompanying him was a middle-aged Taoist in a faded blue robe, with a dignified countenance and bright eyes. This Taoist exuded a contained aura, yet Qin's consciousness brushed against him, revealing a power within that was no less than that of the early foundation establishment stage, with a solid foundation, exuding a sense of balanced integrity unlike Xian Xian's piercing sword cultivation. Qin Xiaoyu, I apologize for the intrusion, and I hope for your understanding, Yang Zhantian said with a smile, his demeanor more respectful than before, even tinged with a hint of reverence. He gestured towards the Taoist beside him. This is Elder Xiancheng from the Qingyan sect. The Qingyan sect? The atmosphere in the courtyard shifted, becoming subtly charged. Yang Yingxue halted her manipulation of the new bamboo, casting a wary glance over. Ali also ceased her practice, quietly positioning herself behind Qin. Even Sun Xiao, who had been busy inside, and Xian Xian and Shun Xinyu, who were previously sparring, paused to focus their attention. Qin narrowed his eyes, his mind racing. The Qingyan sect? With the Li family's downfall and Li Song's disgrace, what could they possibly want by sending someone now? Seeking vengeance? Or, maintaining a calm exterior, he rose and clasped his hands. So it is the esteemed Taoist from the Qingyan sect. I wonder what brings you from afar. Elder Xiancheng performed a respectful bow, his expression tranquil, devoid of any intent to accuse. Instead, he bore a trace of scrutiny and curiosity. This humble Taoist, Xian Cheng, comes on behalf of the sect master to pay a visit to Taoist friend Qinan. His voice was gentle, imbued with a rhythm that instilled a sense of tranquility. Matters concerning the Li family had already reached a consensus within the sect. Li Buqing was to blame for his own misfortunes, while Li Qing and others, who sought trouble, deserved their fates. Li Song, with his dubious intentions, was also a victim of the karmic cycle of cause and effect. My Qingyun sect is not a place lacking in discernment. Upon uttering these words, not only was Qin taken aback, but even Yang Ingxue and Ali displayed expressions of astonishment. The Qingyun sect not only refrained from pursuing accountability, but also shifted the responsibility squarely onto the Li family. Such an attitude seemed almost too generous to be believed. Yang Zhantian quickly interjected, "Young friend Qin, Taoist Xuanqing's visit is devoid of any ill will. The primary purpose is to extend an invitation for you to visit Qingyun sect as a guest elder when time permits." Guest elder? Qin was genuinely astonished. The Qingyun sect, a venerable mountain sect with a long-standing legacy, was inviting someone like him, a rootless rogue with grievances against them, to become a guest elder? Taoist Xuanqing seemed to perceive Qin's trepidation, smiling as he said, "There is no need for doubt, Tao friend Qin. During the battle at Xiangshan, you turned the tide, demonstrating remarkable cultivation and responsibility at such a young age. You are indeed a model for our fellow cultivators. The Qingyun sect has always cherished talent and wishes to forge a benevolent connection with you. The position of guest elder carries minimal constraints. One is only required to lend assistance within one's capacity during times of sect peril. In ordinary times, you are free to come and go, and the sect's scripture repository shall be partially accessible to you, along with the benefits afforded to elders. The terms are undeniably generous, akin to bestowing advantages simply to cultivate goodwill." Qin did not respond immediately. He gently tapped his fingers on the table, deep in thought. The Qingyun sect's significant change in attitude was undoubtedly not solely due to his performance at Xiangshan. More crucially, it likely stemmed from the potential he had displayed, as well as the connections he might possess, such as the enigmatic elder Qin Hao and the formidable elderly Daoi, who had recently revealed astonishing power. They were making an investment, or perhaps a veiled attempt at reconciliation, seeking to avoid enmity with someone of his potential and the forces behind him. With this realization, Qin understood. He smiled and replied to Taoist Xuanqing, "I appreciate the goodwill of the Qingyun sect and the sect leader. However, I am accustomed to a more leisurely pace and have pressing matters to attend to, so I must respectfully decline the invitation to become a guest elder for now. Should an opportunity arise in the future, I will surely visit Qingyun sect in person." He did not dismiss the offer entirely, but also declined the immediate binding invitation. With the olive branch of the dragon soul in his grasp, along with the spiritual seeds of the earth vein and the secrets of his own cultivation, there was no rush to commit to any sect. Taoist Xuanqing appeared unfazed, still smiling, "No problem. Whenever you find time, the gates of Qingyun sect shall always be open to you. Here is my communication jade talisman. Should you have leisure, you may use this to reach out." He handed over a smooth azure jade talisman. Qin accepted the talisman, scanning it with his consciousness to confirm its authenticity before placing it away. "Thank you, Taoist." Taoist Xuanqing exchanged a few more pleasantries before taking his leave with the complex-faced Yang Zhantian. After seeing them off, Yang Ingxue quickly approached. "Hey, Qin, what does this mean? A weasel paying New Year's greetings to a chicken?" Qin toyed with the jade talisman, his gaze profound. Regardless of their intentions, for now, they are certainly not enemies. Having more friends is preferable to having more foes. Moreover, he paused. This indicates that we have genuinely caught the attention of the mountain sections. The days ahead may become quite lively. He gazed toward the west, the direction of Kunlun Mountain. The aftermath of Xiangshan had yet to fully settle, and it seemed a new storm was already brewing. Chapter 72. The Dragon Soul badged the invitation from Deputy Director Long Zhantian of the General Bureau, alongside Qin's proposed expedition to Kunlun, stirred significant ripples within the tranquil confines of Ling Tai Shao Yuan, akin to two boulders cast into a serene lake. Among the most elated was Sun Xiao Xiao, who clutched her tablet with fervor, her cheeks flushed with excitement as she dashed about the courtyard exclaiming, "The Dragon Soul Special Operations Group. Directly accountable to the General Bureau. This signifies our access to the highest level databases and research resources. Oh my goodness, Chinan, can we request the construction of a large particle collider to explore the microscopic structure of chaotic energy? Or perhaps apply for a reconnaissance satellite dedicated to spiritual energy monitoring? Chinan, with a bemused expression, responded, Xiao Xiao, I doubt Director Long would approve our use of a collider for martial arts research. He could hardly envision the look on Long Zhantian's face upon hearing such a request. Yang Yingxue, indifferent to organizational affiliations, was primarily concerned with two matters. Were provisions provided? And would it facilitate combat? Upon receiving Qin An's assurance that both were covered, and that opportunities for conflict would likely increase, she nodded in satisfaction, declaring, Very well, I shall reluctantly join. Ali, on the other hand, offered unconditional support for Qin An's decisions. For her, as long as she could be with Qin An and Yingxue, the destination and activities were of little consequence. Moreover, Kunlun Mountain, reputed to be a sanctuary for many ancient demon clans, might hold more clues regarding her nine-tailed fox lineage. Xin Xuan and Shun Xinyu remained silent, as they themselves were half-integrated within the system and were pleased to see Qin and join the Dragon's Soul. Xin Xuan even mused that with this official identity, should Qin and encounter any troubles, which she intuitively sensed he would, the General Bureau would be more justified in addressing them. In the ensuing days, the small courtyard entered a phase of intense preparation for the journey ahead. The foremost task was to thoroughly repair and upgrade the courtyard's defenses. With high-quality materials provided by the General Bureau and the Martial Arts Association, coupled with Sun Xiao's technical expertise and Xin Xuan's mastery of formations, a new composite array was swiftly completed, surpassing previous strength. This new formation, centered around a jade bamboo, integrated the vitality of the Earth's veins, exhibiting remarkable defensive capabilities along with enhanced concealment, early warning, and counterattack functions. Qin An attempted to infuse a hint of chaotic energy comprehension into the array's core, achieving an extraordinary purification effect against malevolent forces. It was likely that ordinary evil entities would disintegrate if they ventured within 100 meters of the courtyard. As Sun Xiao put it, the current courtyard resembled an ultimate fortress masquerading as a homely retreat. Next, preparations for supplies and intelligence were underway. Sun Xiao compiled an extensive list, ranging from high-energy compressed food to the latest portable energy detectors, from multifunctional survival tools to specialized equipment for confronting various supernatural beings. Long Zhantian, with a wave of his hand, granted special approval for all items, personally ensuring their delivery by Zhao Gang, filling half of the courtyard storage space. In terms of intelligence, Long Zhantian honored his promise by providing all non-classified information regarding the Kunlun Mountain region held by the General Bureau. The data indicated that the Kunlun Mountain range and its surrounding areas had historically been hotspots for extraordinary events, characterized by unstable spatial structures and frequent appearances of secret realms, relics, and unknown spatial entrances. It was home to ancient cultivation families and reclusive sects, as well as numerous powerful spirits and demon clans, with intricate relationships. The General Bureau had established several secret observation stations in the area, albeit with limited influence. Kunlun, more complex than imagined, Qin An thought, furrowing his brow. Opportunities and risks coexisted there, and it seemed this journey would not be without its challenges. Lastly, personal strength enhancement was prioritized. Qin An seized the opportunity to consolidate his cultivation, attempting deeper communication with the Earth's spiritual seeds through heart-to-heart resonance, yielding significant results. He felt his mastery over the life force becoming increasingly refined. Yang Yingxue immersed herself in developing new techniques for her Blood Thunder intent, nearly demolishing the newly constructed training ground in the backyard. Ali continued to delve into illusions and purification, her illusions beginning to influence small areas of the environment, creating a more authentic domain. During this period, the privileges of the dragon emblem began to manifest. Local cultivation families and wandering practitioners, who had previously adopted a cautious stance towards Qin An and his companions, started to extend goodwill through various channels, offering precious herbs or materials. Even within the Martial Arts Association, where there had been previous friction, attitudes towards Qin An transformed, becoming more enthusiastic and respectful. Such was the change brought about by status and power. 10 days later, everything was in readiness. The courtyard's defenses were as solid as a fortress, supplies and equipment were fully stocked, and everyone was in optimal condition. On the eve of their departure, Qin An sat alone on the rooftop, gazing at the night sky over Xiangshan City. After repairs, the city had regained some illumination. Although remnants of battle were still visible in many areas, life was beginning to flourish once again. "It's time to leave," he murmured softly. This place had been his first true home since arriving in this world, a haven filled with comrades in arms and ties that bound him. The sudden prospect of departure tugged at his heartstrings. "What's this? Are you reluctant to leave your shabby courtyard?" Yang Yingshue's voice chimed in from beside him as she nimbly hopped up onto the roof, joining him and offering a can of chilled beer, the source of which remained a mystery. Qingnan accepted the beer. Taking a sip, the icy liquid slid down his throat, providing a refreshing sensation. "A bit, considering I have lived here for so long. TCH, how sentimental." Yang Yingxue shot him a disdainful glance. A real man should set his sights on broader horizons. What future is there in cooping up in a small place? Kunlun Mountain. I've heard tales of ancient relics, celestial treasures, and formidable opponents waiting for a challenge. Just thinking about it is exhilarating. Qingnan chuckled at her gleaming eyes, resigned to her straightforward mindset. "Qingnan," Ali's gentle voice called, as she too ascended the rooftop, settling on his other side, gazing at him quietly, her eyes sparkling like the brightest stars in the night sky. "Wherever you go, I will follow you." Qingnan felt warmth bloom in his heart as he reached out to ruffle Ali's hair, then patted Yang Yingshue's shoulder. "Yes, I know. We will embark together." The three sat atop the roof, sharing beer and gazing at the starry sky, enveloped in a silent camaraderie and bond that flowed through the air. The following morning dawned bright and sunny. At the entrance of Ling Tai Xiao Yuan, Qingnan, Yang Yingxue, Ali, and Sun Xiaoxiao were poised to set forth on their journey. Sun Xiaoxiao carried her seemingly more inflated giant backpack, filled to the brim with her treasured belongings. Xian Xian and Xin Xian Yu arrived to bid farewell. "This is a special pass and communicator provided by the headquarters," Xin Xian Yu said, presenting several futuristic wristwatch-like devices. "In the Kunlun area, showing this to the officials will greatly facilitate matters. In case of emergencies, you can directly contact the headquarters or the nearby observation station through this." "Thank you," Qingnan replied as he accepted the devices and distributed them among the others. Xian Xian gazed at Qingnan, her clear eyes imbued with a hint of caution. "The waters of Kunlun are deep. Exercise utmost care. When faced with challenges, you may seize the opportunity, but do not trust entirely." "Understood," Qingnan nodded. Xian Xian's words bore the weight of experience. Zhou Weiguo and Zhao Gang also arrived, representing the Xiangshan branch, delivering supplies that might be useful on the journey alongside heartfelt blessings. "Qin Xiaoyu, depart early and return swiftly. Xiangshan will always be your home," Zhou Weiguo said firmly, grasping Qinnan's hand. After bidding farewell to everyone, Qingnan cast one last glance at the Ling Tai Xiao Yuan, standing peacefully in the morning light, took a deep breath, and turned away. "Let us go." The four of them boarded a specially modified off-road vehicle arranged by the headquarters, designed to navigate the complex terrain of certain areas in Kunlun. The vehicle roared to life and gradually departed from the familiar alley, heading towards the distant highway. Thus, a new journey officially commenced, with the destination set for Kunlun. Chapter 73. Kunlun. The specially modified off-road vehicle roared away from the bustling, yet gradually recovering, Xiangshan City, leaving the towering skyscrapers behind. The scenery outside the window was gradually replaced by farmland and rolling hills. Inside the vehicle, however, the atmosphere was anything but dreary. "Wow, this is amazing. I can see the flow of energy." Sun Xiaoxiao, donning a uniquely designed pair of glasses, pointed excitedly at the landscape outside, frequently exclaiming in wonder. Her latest invention, the Lingning Shiji instrument, allowed her to visualize the distribution and movement of spiritual energy in the natural world. Yang Yingxue, uninterested in the monotonous scenery outside, was immersed in a game on a customized handheld console capable of withstanding her strength, her fingers tapping rhythmically while she muttered, "Taste my ultimate move." "Ola, ola, ola." Ali sat quietly by the window, curiously watching the swiftly retreating landscape. For someone who had spent most of her time in Xiangshan City, this long journey was a novel experience. Occasionally, she reached out as if to touch the flowing, purer spiritual energy of the world outside, much more pristine than that in the city. Qingnan occupied the passenger seat, tasked with navigation and vigilance. He held a tablet displaying the electronic map and brief intelligence of the Kunlun area provided by Long Zhantian. His consciousness functioned like an invisible radar, continuously scanning the energy fluctuations within a several-kilometer radius. The journey began smoothly, traveling westward along the highway, with no abnormalities aside from a gradual increase in spiritual energy concentration. At this pace, they would likely reach the outskirts of the Kunlun Mountains by tomorrow afternoon, Qinan remarked as he glanced at the map. We're almost there, Yang Yingxue exclaimed, putting down her gaming device and stretching. I've been sitting for so long, my bones are itching. However, that evening, as the vehicle entered a desolate Gobi region, Qinan's consciousness stirred slightly. Something's amiss, he signaled to the driver, a taciturn yet skilled member of the security bureau, to reduce speed. Ahead, a short distance from the roadside, a few crooked, dusty off-road vehicles were parked, surrounded by a dozen rugged individuals who appeared weary, resembling either travelers or adventurers. Yet, Qinan's perception revealed that these individuals emitted faint energy fluctuations. Although weak, they were indeed extraordinary beings, and several exuded a menacing aura, suggesting they were not to be trifled with. Be cautious, these individuals are not ordinary tourists, Qinan warned in a low voice. As their vehicle approached, the group noticed the obviously modified vehicle and directed wary, scrutinizing glances their way. When Qinan's vehicle passed, a burly man clad in a grimy tactical jacket, sporting a scarred face and fierce eyes, stepped forward, waving his hand to signal them to stop. The driver looked at Qinan, who pondered briefly before nodding. He too was curious about what these individuals intended. The vehicle came to a halt, and Qinan rolled down the window, calmly inquiring, "Is there something you need?" The scarred man appraised the occupants of the vehicle, lingering for a few seconds on the exceptionally beautiful Ali and the technologically adorned Sun Xiaoxiao, a flicker of greed flashing in his eyes before it was quickly suppressed. He spoke in stilted Mandarin, "Brothers, you are also heading to that place, right? The road ahead has been buried by sand and wind, and our vehicle is stuck. Could you lend us a hand? We can pay or exchange information." The place he referred to evidently indicated a specific area within the Kunlun Mountains, possibly a rumored hidden realm or the entrance to a relic. Qinan scoffed inwardly. The notion that the road was buried by sand was implausible. Although this Gobi was barren, it was not enough to trap these clearly modified off-road vehicles. This group likely sought to exploit their superior vehicle and fewer numbers to gain some advantage or, perhaps, engage in some underhanded dealings. Just as he was about to refuse, Sun Xiaoxiao suddenly leaned closer and whispered in his ear, "Qinan, I detected faint spatial fluctuations and remnants of dark energy in the trunk of one of their vehicles. It's very weak, but quite unusual." Spatial fluctuations? Remnants of dark energy? Qinan's expression sharpened. Could this group be connected to the sowing plan or some other malevolent force? He reconsidered his stance and smiled at the scarred man. "We can help, but we are not interested in money or general information. I am, however, quite curious about what you have in your trunk." The scarred man's expression shifted drastically, and the tension among the dozen individuals behind him escalated, hands instinctively reaching for their waists or behind them, where weapons were clearly concealed. "Brother, what do you mean by that? Inquiring into someone else's privacy is not very polite, is it?" The man's eyes turned dangerous, and his tone became icy. "Nothing much, just curiosity," Qinan replied, pushing open the car door and stepping out to stretch his wrists, maintaining an innocuous smile. "I tend to have a strong curiosity, especially regarding things that shouldn't be here." Yang Yingxue, seeing this, excitedly hopped out of the vehicle, cracking her knuckles as the joints popped. "Are we going to fight? Awesome. Just what I need to stretch my muscles." Ali and Sun Xiaoxiao followed suit. Observing that there were only 4 individuals on the opposing side, the driver remained in the vehicle, and that, aside from the girl with the clenched fists who appeared somewhat dangerous, the other 2 women and a young man seemed harmless. The scarred man gained confidence and sneered, "Kid, you're asking for trouble. Since you're looking for death, don't blame us for being ruthless. Brothers, grab your weapons. Take out the men and abduct the women." Before he could finish speaking, the group brandished their weapons, some wielding machetes, others military knives, and even 2 homemade shotguns. Simultaneously, they unleashed a formidable presence, most at the 3rd or 4th level of chi refinement, with the scarred man boasting a 6th level cultivation. In this remote wilderness, they indeed constituted a considerable force. Unfortunately for them, they had just encountered an immovable obstacle. "Is this all you've got?" Yang Yingxue remarked in disappointment. "This doesn't even count as a warm-up." She was so disinterested that she didn't even bother using her lightning techniques. With a swift motion, she dashed into the crowd like a specter. Bang! Snap! Crack! Accompanied by a series of jarring thuds and the sound of cracking bones, the fearsome brutes were struck down as if by a speeding truck, each one shrieking and flying backward, their weapons slipping from their grasp. Before they even hit the ground, they were already unconscious, incapable of movement. The entire ordeal unfolded in less than 3 seconds. Only the scar-faced brute remained standing, his sinister grin frozen in place, replaced by an overwhelming sense of dread and astonishment. He could hardly comprehend how the girl had moved. His subordinates lay defeated around him. Who are you? The scar-faced man's voice trembled as he instinctively took 2 steps back. Sheenan disregarded him entirely, striding directly to the off-road vehicle that emanated spatial fluctuations and residual dark energy. With a swift motion, he wrenched the robust door lock open as if it were made of paper. Inside the trunk lay several sealed metal boxes. Sheenan opened one to discover a few black stones emitting faint traces of dark energy. Opening another, he found fragments of ancient bronze artifacts inscribed with bizarre runes, one of which still bore an exceedingly faint spatial fluctuation. Were they Tomb Raiders? Had they inadvertently unearthed energy-polluted ores? Sheenan furrowed his brow. While these items held little intrinsic value, the combination of spatial fluctuations and dark energy left him feeling perturbed. He turned his gaze toward the now cowering scar-faced man, coldly inquiring, "Where did you acquire these items?" The scar-faced man, now stripped of any pretense, divulged everything like a bamboo tube spilling beans. They were a group of rogue excavators specializing in ancient tombs and the search for rare treasures. A few days prior, they had discovered these stones and bronze fragments in an abandoned ancient mine located at the northern foothills of Kunlun Mountain. Believing these items could be valuable, they had surreptitiously extracted them, only to encounter Sheen and his companions along the way. Ancient mine. Where exactly? Sheen pressed further. The scar-faced man hastily provided a rough location. Sheen noted the coordinates and meticulously examined the bronze fragments, confirming that the spatial fluctuation did not originate from the fragments themselves, but rather seemed to be residual traces from contact with an unstable spatial node. It appeared that the ancient mine harbored some mysteries. Sheen communicated with Sun Xiaodao, instructing him to record the coordinates. "Perhaps we can pay a visit along our route." Sun Xiaodao promptly operated the equipment to log the coordinates and quickly scanned and analyzed the stones and fragments. After dealing with the group, Sheen found no need to kill them. He merely incapacitated their cultivation, allowing them to fend for themselves. Everyone reboarded the vehicle. This minor episode granted Sheen a more vivid awareness of the dangers that lay ahead in Kunlun. This place was rife with rogues and outlaws, seemingly concealing numerous secrets related to dark energy and spatial phenomena. As the vehicle roared back to life, it resumed its journey towards the Kunlun mountain range, sprawling across the horizon like a colossal beast under the shroud of night. The true adventure was about to commence. Chapter 74. The enigmatic mine. The vehicle traversed the vast expanse of the Gobi Desert throughout the night. As the first light of dawn painted the horizon in soft hues, the majestic silhouette of the Kunlun Mountains emerged clearly before their eyes. No longer mere shadows on the distant skyline, the peaks stood resolutely tall, cloaked in perpetual snow, glimmering with a pure yet frigid radiance in the morning light. An ancient, profound aura, imbued with an intangible pressure, enveloped them, evoking an involuntary sense of reverence. This was Kunlun. Ali leaned against the car window, gazing up at the colossal mountain shadow, her eyes reflecting a stirring sense of familiarity and resonance from the depths of her bloodline, feeling a tender closeness, yet a distant remoteness. The concentration of spiritual energy here was at least 3-fold higher than outside. Moreover, it was steadily increasing. Sun Xiao observed the readings on the detector. Bubbling with excitement, the energy environment here was extraordinarily vibrant, and, wait, multiple anomalies in energy sources were detected, scattered across various regions of the mountain range. Sheen's perceptive awareness was even sharper. He could hear the diverse fluctuations of energy emanating from within the mountains, some tranquil, others ferocious, some obscure, while others brimmed with vitality. Yet, there were also those that exuded an unsettling silence and malevolence. It felt as though they had entered a vast and intricate ecological sphere, concealing innumerable unknowns. According to the map provided by Long Zhan Tian and the coordinates given by the burly man with a scarred face, their first destination was the abandoned ancient mine located on the northern foothills of the Kunlun Mountains. The vehicle veered off the main road, navigating a rugged, bumpy gravel path leading deeper into the mountains. The road conditions were deplorable, with desolate hills surrounding them, occasionally revealing wild animals cautiously observing this intruding steel beast in their territory. After several hours, the vehicle halted at the entrance of a valley, where no further path lay ahead. Based on the coordinates, the mine was deep within this valley. Qin disembarked, sensing the air thick with a faint, unsettling mixture of mineral dust and an eerie essence. The group exited the vehicle, securing their backpacks. Yang Shui took the lead, her fists crackling with faint lightning, ready to confront any potential danger. Ali followed closely, her fox ears twitching, attuned to any unusual sounds carried by the wind. Sun Xiao wielded various detection devices, scanning the surrounding environment as they walked. The valley was deep, flanked by steep rock walls and sparse vegetation. As they ventured further, the malevolent atmosphere intensified, accompanied by a stale, decayed odor. After approximately half an hour, they encountered a massive, dark opening, showing clear signs of human excavation, though it had long fallen into disrepair. Rusted mining tools and debris littered the surroundings, and ancient characters, barely discernible, were carved into the rock above the entrance, decipherable only as Yusu. Yusu mine? Qin pondered those two characters. In mythological lore, Yusu held a close association with Kunlun. Energy readings confirmed. The source of the malevolent energy residue lay deep within the mine. The spatial fluctuations were also more intense than outside. Sun Xiao pointed at the detector screen, which displayed a strong energy reaction within the mine. I'll take the lead, Yang Shui declared impatiently, her body crackling with lightning as she prepared to rush inside. Wait, Qin grasped her arm, cautioning her against recklessness. This mine gives me an ominous feeling. There may be more than just malevolent energy within. Taking a deep breath, he cautiously extended his consciousness into the mine. No abnormalities were detected near the entrance, but as his perception delved deeper, he encountered a viscous force that hindered his exploration, as if an invisible mist veiled the depths of the mine. Concurrently, a faint, almost imperceptible sound, reminiscent of countless souls softly weeping, began to filter into his awareness. There is mental interference, and it runs deep, Qin remarked gravely. Ali, remain vigilant with your defenses. Xiao, continuously monitor the mental fluctuations. Xiao Shui, stay close to me, do not stray too far. He stepped forward into the mine, with Yang Shui closely behind, followed by Ali and Sun Xiao. The interior of the mine was exceptionally dark and damp, the air thick with the musty scent of mildew and the tang of rusting metal. The beam of the flashlight illuminated only the droplets seeping from the tunnel walls and the thick moss covering the ground. The uneven path beneath their feet occasionally yielded the remains of unknown creatures. As they progressed deeper, the obstructive force against their consciousness and the mental interference intensified. Qin had to narrow his awareness, concentrating on perceiving the conditions ahead. Ali had already conjured a faint mental shield, enveloping the four of them, shielding against the pervasive mental noise. Multiple life-form reactions detected. Energy signatures, quite chaotic. They do not resemble living beings, nor do they appear to be pure undead. Sun Xiao whispered urgently, her tone laced with tension. No sooner had she spoken than a rustling sound, sending shivers down their spines, echoed from around the corner of the tunnel. The flashlight beam shot towards the noise. Emerging unsteadily from the shadows were a dozen figures, clad in tattered mining uniforms seemingly from decades past. Their bodies were emaciated, their skin took on an unhealthy ashen hue, and their hollow eye sockets flickered with eerie green flames. Their movements were stiff, akin to marionettes, yet they emitted hoarse growls filled with suffering and resentment as they closed in on Qin and his companions. They were the vengeful souls of miners who perished in a disaster, corrupted by the malevolent energy here. They had transformed into corpse puppets. Qin recognized their origins at a glance. They were more troublesome than ordinary vengeful spirits, possessing a degree of physical attack capability and an audacity that defied fear. Leave this to me, Yang Shui, already restless, shouted, and with a flash of her palms, unleashed a torrent of lightning. Thunder palm, thunder net. She thrust her palms forward, and a net woven from purple lightning instantly spread out, enveloping the horde of corpse puppets. The overwhelming power of the thunder was the very bane of these malevolent entities. With a crackling sound, as the net made contact with the corpse puppets, a flurry of electric arcs erupted. The puppets emitted chilling cries, their bodies convulsing violently in the lightning, billowing clouds of black smoke, until they swiftly turned to charred remnants, falling silent. Having effortlessly dispatched this batch of corpse puppets, the group pressed onward. The deeper they ventured, the more corpse puppets appeared, and their strength escalated, revealing some elite puppets clad in ancient garb, armed with rusted pickaxes. These were more formidable, capable of resisting the thunderous might to a certain extent. Yang Yingxue fought with fervor, unleashing her lightning strikes, and swiftly dispatching the corpse puppets that obstructed their path. Meanwhile, Ali intermittently summoned the purifying light to dispel the pervasive malevolence and dark energy in the air, alleviating the mental strain on the group. Sun Xiaoxiao busied herself documenting various data, analyzing the composition of the corpse puppets and the characteristics of the dark energy. At long last, after clearing an indeterminate number of waves of corpse puppets, they reached the deepest part of the mine. Here lay a vast underground cavern, at the center of which was a pit approximately 10 meters in diameter, seemingly bottomless. An intense, almost tangible black malevolence surged forth from the pit like a geyser. Surrounding the pit were scattered bronze fragments exhibiting spatial fluctuations alongside some luminescent, dark energy-tainted ores. The source of this dark energy was undoubtedly that pit. Sun Xiaoxiao exclaimed, pointing at the readings on the detector that had gone off the charts. However, Qin An's gaze was drawn to a massive stone tablet, half buried in the earth at the edge of the pit. The tablet was inscribed with ancient seal script. Though severely eroded, fragments of the text were still discernible. The words hinted at a forbidden domain, Yushu forbidden ground, sealing the demons herein. Those who dare act recklessly shall have their souls scattered. Qin An softly recited the inscriptions, a jolt of realization coursing through him. Could it be that beneath this mine lay a monstrous entity in confinement? Was the dark energy a manifestation of a loosening seal? At that moment, an unexpected turn of events transpired. A deep, wrathful roar erupted from the unfathomable depths of the dark energy pit. Following this, an enormous claw, entirely composed of dense dark energy and black rock, suddenly emerged from the pit with a ferocious momentum, aiming directly for Qin An, who stood at the forefront. Even before the claw reached him, the terrifying pressure and foul wind it carried caused the entire cavern to tremble. "Be careful," Yang Yingxue cried out, attempting to intervene, but the claw's speed was far too swift. Qin An's pupils constricted as he sensed the immense power contained within the claw, surpassing that of any foe he had faced before, nearing the late stage of foundation establishment. He could not afford to hesitate. Within him, the Yin-Yang Ascension technique surged into action, the chaotic energy instantly mobilizing and coalescing in his right fist. Chaotic destruction. Once again, he unleashed a fist capable of annihilating all, as the chaotic light beam surged forth, colliding violently with the colossal claw of dark rock. The cavern erupted with a resounding explosion. The chaotic force clashed and countered with the pure, overwhelming dark energy, annihilating each other. The shockwave swept through the entire cavern like a tempest, sending surrounding debris and bronze fragments flying. Qin An stifled a groan, pushed back several meters by the immense recoil, his blood surging within him. The gigantic claw of dark rock, too, was shattered at the impact of the chaotic force, exploding into a cloud of black mist. A pained, enraged roar echoed from within the pit. Clearly, whatever lay beneath had been provoked, and more dark energy began to boil forth, as if seeking to break free from its constraints. This is bad. The entity below is trying to emerge. The seal may not hold much longer. Qin An's expression darkened. He had not anticipated such a terrifying creature was imprisoned beneath the mine. The power of the claw, merely a byproduct of the leaking dark energy, was already formidable. Its true form must be at least at the core formation stage. The seal must be reinforced, or it must be eradicated entirely. A glint of resolve flashed in Qin An's eyes. Allowing this to persist meant disaster for the entire Kunlun region and beyond once the creature escaped. He glanced at the pit from which dark energy continuously surged, then at the surrounding bronze fragments emanating spatial fluctuations. A bold thought formed in his mind. Could the spatial fluctuations of these bronze fragments be linked to the seal? If we could harness these fragments, combined with the power of the earth veins, though tainted here, they are not entirely unusable. We might temporarily reinforce the seal, or perhaps discover a way to eliminate the creature entirely. Xiao immediately analyzed the spatial attributes of these bronze fragments. Seek any clues related to the seal. Xiao, Ali, provide me with protection. I shall attempt to communicate with the earth veins here, to see if I can borrow their strength. Qin swiftly issued his commands. A battle against time to prevent the creature's escape was suddenly heightened within this abandoned mine deep in the Kunlun Mountains. Chapter 75. The Seal Within the Cave. The malevolent energy surged forth like boiling water from the pit, as the shattered claw of the sinister rock, partially destroyed by Qin, began to visibly coalesce at an alarming rate. The terrifying roars from the depths of the pit grew ever closer, as if it were on the verge of breaking free from its confinement. The entire cavern quaked violently, debris fell incessantly, and the situation was dire. Qin, the spatial runes inscribed on these bronze shards are exceedingly ancient and intricate. They indeed form a part of a vast spatial sealing matrix. However, the core appears to be missing or has been damaged. Sun Xiaoxiao exclaimed, her hands dancing swiftly over the virtual keyboard, attempting to decipher the secrets of the shards. I need time to establish a model and identify the critical nodes. There is no time left, Yang Yingxue warned, her vigilant gaze fixed on the ever-coalescing claw of the sinister rock. That creature is about to emerge. Ali summoned all her strength to maintain the spiritual shield, with purifying light washing over the pervasive malevolent energy like a tide, yet her delicate face had turned pale, clearly exhausted. The resentment is overwhelming. The entity below is filled with a will for destruction. Qin remained unflustered, forcing himself to maintain composure. He sat cross-legged a short distance from the pit, his hands pressed against the cold, damp ground, eyes closed as he exerted his full effort to channel the yin-yang ascension art, attempting to establish a connection with this severely tainted land. Unlike the smooth connection he experienced in the Ling Tai courtyard, the ley lines here were imbued with torment, rage, and chaotic emotions. The malevolent energy gnawed at the spiritual essence of the ley lines, rendering communication arduous and frantic. Navigating through the mire of chaotic energy was akin to wading through a bog. Each inch gained was fraught with difficulty and incessant assaults from the malevolent energy and mental dissonance. To connect with the heart, not to extract, but to resonate and soothe. He recalled the insights gained during his unconscious state, ceasing to forcibly draw power. Instead, he transformed the essence of his consciousness, infused with chaotic intent, into a gentle yet resilient stream, slowly infusing it into the ground, striving to mend the wounds of the ley lines and awaken their inherent power. This process was immensely taxing on his spirit. Soon, cold sweat beaded on his forehead, and his body trembled slightly. He sensed the ley lines beneath their turbulent facade, harboring a deep-seated unwillingness and fury, an anger against pollution and enslavement. Help me, drive away this filth. A faint yet anguished thought intermittently reached Qin and S consciousness, the residual spirit of this region's ley lines. There is a way. Qin and spirit surged. He immediately transmitted a resolute thought. Together, let us expel them. He guided the awakened power of the ley lines, no longer attempting to confront the overwhelming malevolent energy surging from the pit directly. Instead, he directed it like a flood, steering it toward the scattered bronze shards surrounding the pit, which bore spatial fluctuations. Xiao. Now is the moment. Guide the ley line energy into the shards. Attempt to activate the sealing matrix. Qin bellowed. Sun Xiao instantly grasped his intent, manipulating several small drone-like energy conduits to precisely inject the power, a blend of ley line vitality and chaotic essence, into several key bronze shards. As the dormant bronze shards, which had lain silent for countless ages, encountered this unique force, they suddenly illuminated with a soft white glow. The ancient runes upon the shards seemed to come alive, beginning to flow and coalesce. Strands of white light emanated from the shards, intertwining in the air, gradually outlining an incomplete, yet still exuding potent spatial confinement, the ancient array. The moment the array manifested, the malevolent energy surging from the pit visibly faltered. The coalescing claw of the sinister rock emitted a pained shriek, its movements growing sluggish. It's working, Yang Yingxue exclaimed with joy. Yet the entity lurking in the depths of the pit was evidently unwilling to be sealed once more, unleashing a more furious roar. An even denser malevolent energy erupted like a volcanic explosion, violently assaulting the newly formed incomplete array. The white array flickered intensely, its light wavering, clearly unable to endure for long. This won't do. The seal is incomplete. The power is insufficient. It won't hold for much longer. Sun Xiaoxiao cried anxiously. We must find the core or a stronger source of power. A stronger source of power? Qin and S gaze swept across the entire cave before finally resting on a stone tablet inscribed with demon-suppressing characters. The tablet emanated an aura of ancient and profound significance. Perhaps. He strained against the near exhaustion of his spirit, sending forth a wisp of his consciousness toward the stone tablet. As his consciousness made contact with the tablet, a vast, desolate stream of information, filled with unparalleled majesty and a will to suppress, surged into his mind. This was not an attack, but rather a sealed memory and a fragmented inheritance. I am the guardian of Yushu. By the decree of the heavenly sovereign, I seal this outer heart demon here. Utilizing the Kunlun dragon vein, I have laid down the 9 heavens demon suppression array. In the future, should the array's foundation be damaged, the heart demon will emerge. Seek the core of the demon suppression tablet and activate it with pure yang energy or chaotic essence to temporarily alleviate the crisis. However, to achieve complete purification, one must find the shards of the Kunlun mirror to reflect its essence, thus obliterating it entirely. The stream of information abruptly ceased. Guardian of Yushu, Outer Heart Demon, 9 Heavens Demon Suppression Array, Core of the Demon Suppression Tablet, Shards of the Kunlun Mirror. The influx of information struck Qin An's mind with a piercing pain, yet he instantly grasped the crux of the matter. This stone tablet was one of the cores of the seal, or perhaps the control hub, and to activate it, pure yang energy or chaotic essence was required. Pure yang energy? Yang Yingshue's supreme blood thunder essence was exceedingly pure and potent. Perhaps it could be tried. Yet, her power level might not suffice. As for his own chaotic essence, there was no time to ponder further. Xiao, use your most powerful thunder technique to strike that stone tablet. Qin An shouted, pointing at the demon suppression tablet, simultaneously expelling the last remnants of chaotic essence from his dantian, transforming it into a slender, yet seemingly capable of stabilizing the cosmos' chaotic radiance, shooting toward the tablet. Though Yang Yingxue was perplexed, she held unwavering trust in Qin An. With a fierce cry, she elevated her entire being's blood thunder essence to its zenith, transforming into a violet sun. Ultimate flash of blood thunder prison. A colossal pillar of violet lightning, honed to perfection, akin to a spear of divine retribution, followed closely behind the chaotic radiance, crashing forcefully against the demon suppression tablet. The chaotic flowing light first plunged into the stone tablet. With a resounding hum, the Jinma Bay trembled violently, and the indistinct inscriptions on its surface suddenly erupted into a dazzling golden radiance. A force far more magnificent and imposing than the previous bronze fragment array surged forth, as if representing the suppression power of the heavenly laws, erupting with a thunderous roar. Following this, Yang Yingshue's supreme thunderous power was infused, igniting the golden light into a fervor several times more intense. The entire stone tablet appeared to come alive, transforming into a towering golden column of light. Within this column, a faint silhouette of an elder clad in an ancient Taoist robe emerged, his features obscured, yet his gaze exuded the gravitas of the sun and moon. Holding a whisk, he gently swept it towards the malevolent energy pit, commanding, Jun. As if the very words conjured the spell, an enormous character, composed of countless golden runes, descended from the heavens, carrying an immense force that forcefully pressed down upon the roiling malevolent energy pit. No. A piercing shriek emanated from the depths of the pit, filled with the utmost terror and unwillingness of the outer domain's heart demon. The malevolent rock claws, which had just begun to coalesce, melted away under the weight of the golden character, while the surging malevolent energy was abruptly suppressed by an invisible hand. The golden character firmly imprinted itself at the entrance of the pit, forming a powerful temporary seal that completely blocked the gushing malevolent energy. Only wisps of black mist seeped from the edges of the seal, yet they posed no significant threat. The tremors within the cave ceased, and the suffocating mental noise and oppressive malevolent energy suddenly abated. We succeeded. The seal is temporarily established. Qin An could no longer endure the strain. Spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood, his body weakly collapsing backward, only to be caught by the quick-witted Ollie. His complexion was as pale as paper, his consciousness and spiritual energy utterly depleted, devoid of the strength to move even a finger. Yang Yingxue, equally exhausted, leaned on her knee, gasping for breath, yet her face bore an expression of exhilaration, exclaiming, Done. When Annie strikes, one is worth two. Sun Xiaoxiao gazed at the golden seal and the now tranquil pit, letting out a long sigh of relief, subsequently becoming excited as she began to document the valuable sealing data. Ollie, supporting Chinan, looked at his feeble state, tenderly wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth with a handkerchief. "We have succeeded." Chinan managed a weak smile, feeling the surroundings of the cave. Still tinged with residual malevolent energy but now suppressed, a heavy burden lifted from his heart. Although it was merely a temporary measure, they had averted a potential catastrophe. Moreover, they had acquired crucial information regarding the outer domain's heart demon, the Jiuxiao Zhenma Grand Array, and the fragments of the Kunlun mirror. This journey to Kunlun was indeed fraught with peril, yet it also brimming with opportunities. After resting for a moment, and once Chinan regained a modicum of strength, they resolved to depart from this land of strife immediately. The seal here was not robust, and none could ascertain how long it would hold. Before leaving, Chinan instructed Sun Xiaoxiao to meticulously record all the runes on the Zhenma Bay and the energy characteristics when the elder's silhouette appeared. This information might prove vital for resolving this latent threat in the future. The four, weary yet enriched, retraced their steps, exiting the perilous and enigmatic Yushu mine. As sunlight once again bathed their forms, it dispelled the chill and oppression of the mine. Glancing back at the dark mouth of the cave, Chinan understood that this was merely the first challenge of their Kunlun journey. More unknowns and dangers awaited them deep within the majestic Kunlun Mountains. Chapter 76. The Guardian of the Mountain. After departing from the Yushu mine, the four companions discovered a relatively secure and sheltered valley to rest. Chinan, having expended the most energy, consumed a medicinal pill and sat cross-legged to recuperate, striving to regain his strength. Yang Yingxue and Ali each engaged in their own cultivation to replenish their energy. Meanwhile, Sun Xiaoxiao seized the opportunity to organize the data obtained from the mine, particularly focusing on information regarding the Zhenma Bay and the foreign heart demon. Several hours later, Chinan was the first to open his eyes. Although he was far from fully restored, he could at least move without hindrance. He turned to Sun Xiaoxiao and inquired, "Xiaoxiao, have you made any discoveries?" Adjusting her glasses, Sun Xiaoxiao's expression turned serious. "Based on the residual information from the Zhenma Bay and the model I constructed, the essence of that foreign heart demon is exceedingly peculiar. It is not a ghostly entity or a beast as we comprehend, but rather a collection of pure, highly condensed negative energy and chaotic thoughts, capable of eroding both energy and matter, making it exceptionally troublesome. The Jiuxiao Zhenma Great Array utilizes the Kunlun dragon veins and spatial power to confine and extinguish it. However, due to the passage of time, the array's foundation has been damaged, granting it an opportunity to escape." She paused momentarily and retrieved another set of data. As for the fragments of the Kunlun mirror, there is scant information available. It is mentioned that it possesses the power to reflect the essence and is the key to thoroughly purifying the heart demon. Yet, the Kunlun mirror itself is a legendary artifact, and its fragments are scattered, leaving us without any leads. Chinan nodded, sensing that the situation was grim. The heart demon was temporarily sealed, yet the threat remained. Moreover, the fragments of the Kunlun mirror appeared to be akin to searching for a needle in a haystack. "We shall take one step at a time. Our priority is to enhance our strength swiftly and gather more intelligence regarding Kunlun," Chinan stated. The battle in the mine had made him acutely aware of his inadequacies. Had he not fortuitously activated the Zhenma Bay, the consequences would have been dire. Once they had completed their rest, the four continued their journey deeper into Kunlun. According to the intelligence provided by Long Zhantian, there existed an unofficial trading and information hub known as Kunlun Fengshe in the central region of the Kunlun Mountains, formed by the tacit agreement of various extraordinary forces. Although it was a chaotic place, it was also an excellent source of information and resources. As they progressed, they remained increasingly cautious. The internal environment of the Kunlun Mountains was far more intricate and perilous than the periphery, fraught with venomous insects and fierce beasts, as well as naturally occurring mazes and zones of chaotic energy. Thanks to Sun Xiaoxiao's detector and Ali's keen perception, they managed to evade most dangers. After traversing a snow-capped ridge, a breathtaking vista unfolded before them. Below lay a vast valley embraced by towering mountains, shrouded in mist, with the outlines of pavilions and towers faintly visible. Shadows of figures wielding magical artifacts or riding exotic beasts flitted through the air. The air was thick with the scents of various spiritual herbs, medicinal pills, and magical artifacts, mingled with the cacophony of bargaining voices and calls of companionship. That was Kunlun Fengshi. At last, we have arrived at a place of substance, Yang Yingshuer exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement as she surveyed the bustling scene below. I wonder if there are any delicacies here? Qingnan chuckled softly. Let us descend and take a look. Remember, this place is not like Xiangshan. It is teeming with hidden talents, so let us maintain a low profile. The four suppressed their auras, following the mountain path downward into the confines of the Fengshi. The market lacked distinct boundaries and guards, resembling a naturally formed settlement. Shops and stalls lined the streets, offering a plethora of goods, glimmering medicinal materials, shimmering swords and magical artifacts, jade slips inscribed with cultivation techniques, and even some tamed, oddly shaped spirit beast cubs. The passers-by were equally diverse, ranging from robed cultivators to burly warriors, from tribesmen clad in traditional attire to individuals exuding an air of menace. Upon entering the Fengshi, Qin and his companions attracted considerable attention, primarily due to Ali's stunning beauty and Sun Xiaoxiao's high-tech equipment, which starkly contrasted with the ancient surroundings. They settled at a relatively clean tea house, ordering a pot of spiritual tea, preparing to eavesdrop on the discussions around them to gather information. Indeed, many patrons were engaged in animated conversation. Did you hear? A few days ago, the Black Wind Gang discovered an ancient cultivation cave in the north, but they triggered a restriction and suffered heavy casualties, with only 2 escaping. TSK, greed leads to ruin. Do they think the relics deep within Kunlun are so easily accessed? Recently, there seems to have been a surge in malevolent activities. Several peripheral villages have been attacked, and it is said that the 8-branch ninjas have been seen lurking nearby. The 8-branch? Those diminutive foreigners dare to wreak havoc in Kunlun? Who knows? They say they are searching for something. And over in the west, that Flame Valley has been unstable lately. Rumor has it that a treasure is about to emerge, and many have flocked there. Fragments of various information converged, providing Qin with a more vivid understanding of the current situation in Kunlun. Relics, malevolence, the 8-branch, and exotic treasures. Indeed, this was a land rife with turbulence and opportunity. At that moment, a scruffy old Taoist wearing a faded blue robe and a wine gourd at his waist approached their table, swaying slightly as he sat down without invitation, gazing at Qin with a grin. Young lad, you seem unfamiliar. Just arrived in Kunlun? The old Taoist helped himself to the teapot, pouring himself a cup and downing it in one gulp. Good tea. Qin squinted slightly. The old Taoist appeared shabby, yet his aura was profound and restrained, giving off an impression of being inscrutable. He was at least at the mid-stage of foundation establishment. Moreover, Qin could faintly sense a presence reminiscent of the Yushu guardian emanating from the old Taoist, albeit extremely faint. Do you have any advice, esteemed elder? Qin inquired calmly. Advice? I wouldn't dare presume, the old Taoist chuckled, his gaze sweeping over Qin pausing momentarily on the inconspicuous dragon pattern medal on his chest, a flicker of understanding flashing in his eyes. Young lad, I've noticed your brow is radiant, yet shadowed by a dark aura. Have you recently ventured into unclean places and meddled with things best left untouched? A jolt of surprise coursed through Qin. The old Taoist possessed a keen eye. He had indeed just emerged from the mine tainted by malevolent energy, inevitably carrying a trace of that aura, and having employed chaotic energy, and the Jinma Bei could be considered meddling with forbidden matters. Your insight is commendable, Qin replied with a respectful nod. May I ask your esteemed name? The old Taoist burped, patting his wine gourd. I am the old Taoist Song Yunzi, and I can barely be considered a guardian of the mountain. Guardian of the mountain? Qin felt a stirring in his heart. Could it be the lineage of Yu Susho Shan? He tentatively inquired. The Taoist, Song Yunzi, displayed a brief glimmer of insight in his eyes before resuming his languid demeanor. Oh, young man, you are aware of Yu Susho Shan? It seems I have not misjudged you. He lowered his voice. Have you just emerged from that wretched mine? Did you assist in reinforcing the seal within? At this moment, Qin was entirely convinced that Song Yunzi indeed had connections with the guardian of the Jinma Bei. Senior, you are correct. We inadvertently entered the mine and, by a stroke of fortune, utilized the power of the Jinma Bei to temporarily seal that malevolent creature. Qin confessed candidly, recognizing that there was no point in concealing the truth before such a figure. Song Yunzi nodded, exhaling a sigh. That old fellow, referring to the consciousness of the Jinma Bei, has not yet completely lapsed into silence. Thank you. Otherwise, if that wretched thing were to escape, it would indeed be troublesome. He glanced at Qinan, then at Yang Yingxue and Ali, expressing astonishment. At such a young age, possessing such cultivation and responsibility and bearing, well, quite impressive. You have come for that, haven't you? His words were vague, yet Qinan understood he was alluding to the fragments of the Kunlun mirror, or more broadly, the opportunities associated with Kunlun. We have come to Kunlun for both training and to seek certain opportunities to resolve some hidden dangers. Qinan articulated. Opportunities, indeed. Kunlun has never been lacking, but one must have the fate to seize them, Song Yunzi remarked, taking a sip of wine. I find you agreeable, so I will offer you a word of caution. Recently, Kunlun has been rather unsettled. Several ancient seals are showing signs of loosening. Beyond the one you encountered, there are even more troublesome entities. The eight-headed serpent and those avian beings from the west, as well as the bats, are all secretly active, seemingly plotting something. The market is rife with chaos. Be wary of being used as pawns. He paused, continuing. If you seek clues regarding ancient seals or the mirror, you may inquire with Bai Shaosheng at the eastern end of the market. That old rascal is well informed, though his prices are quite steep. Additionally, in 3 days, there will be an auction at the center of the market, the Jubao Gu, where some intriguing items are said to be presented, perhaps of interest to you. Having conveyed this, Song Yunzi rose, stretching lazily. Well then, I have had my drink and shared my thoughts. I must now patrol the mountains. Young man, take care of yourself, and I hope that when we meet again, you will still be full of life. He swayed slightly as he exited the tea house, quickly disappearing into the bustling crowd. Qinan gazed in the direction where Song Yunzi had vanished, his eyes deep with contemplation. The emergence of this descendant of the mountain guardian and the information he divulged provided Qinan with a clearer, albeit more daunting, understanding of the situation in Kunlun. Bai Shaosheng, Jubao Gu auction. Qinan murmured to himself, realizing that they would need to linger here for a few more days. Chapter 77. The auction. After a brief respite at the tea house, the four of them, guided by Song Yunzi, arrived at the eastern end of the Fengshe. This area appeared relatively secluded, with only a rickety wooden hut standing precariously, a crooked wooden sign hanging at its entrance inscribed with the words Ji Wu Bu Yan, accompanied by a smaller line stating, with Ling Shi in place, anything is possible. Is this really the place? Yang Yingxue scrutinized the wooden structure with skepticism, finding it in worse condition than the fortune-telling stalls beneath the Xiangshan Bridge. Qinan stepped forward and knocked on the door. Come in. The door is not locked. A hoarse, aged voice emanated from within. Upon entering, they found the room dimly lit, filled with the musty scent of aged paper and herbs. An elderly man, thin and sparse-haired, wearing thick reading glasses, was hunched over a dilapidated wooden table cluttered with scrolls and books, laboriously perusing a yellowed tome by the flickering light of an oil lamp. He resembled an ordinary old man on the verge of passing, yet when Qinan's consciousness swept over him, he felt as if he had plunged into an unfathomable abyss. This Bai Shaosheng is certainly not to be underestimated. May I inquire if you are Bai Shaosheng, esteemed elder? Qinan cupped his hands in greeting. The old man raised his head, adjusted his glasses, and scrutinized Qinan and his companions, lingering for a moment on a Li and Sun Xiao, before responding in a leisurely manner, I am. What do you wish to ask? The prices are clearly marked, honest and fair. Qinan stated their purpose directly. We wish to inquire about 2 matters. First, the whereabouts of the Kunlun mirror fragments. Second, which ancient seals in the Kunlun region exhibit signs of unusual loosening, and their specific locations. Upon hearing this, Bai Shaosheng's eyelids lifted slightly, revealing a glimmer of interest. Kunlun mirror fragments? That is a legendary item. It has been centuries since any have been reported in this world. As for the ancient seals, that information could be perilous. He extended a bony finger and tapped the table. For the first question, 5,000 lower-grade Ling Shi, or equivalent items. For the second question, depending on the specific seal, the cheapest one will still cost 3,000 lower-grade Ling Shi. Why don't you just go rob it? Yang Yingxue exploded upon hearing the prices. Ling Shi is the hard currency of the cultivation world. The total they brought from Xiangshan barely amounted to around 10,000, and this old fellow was asking for almost that entire sum. Bai Shaosheng lowered his eyelids, unfazed. You can choose to inquire or not. Qinan restrained the irate Yang Yingxue and pondered for a moment. The prices were indeed exorbitant, but they were in urgent need of information. He produced a jade vial containing a vitality pill refined from the spirit spring of Sun Xiao's Ling Tai small courtyard and several precious herbs, known for its remarkable healing and restorative properties and of considerable value. Esteemed elder, how about we use this as payment? Qin poured out a single vitality pill, and the rich aura of vitality instantly filled the small room. Bai Xiaoxing's nose twitched, a flicker of brilliance igniting in his murky eyes as he examined the pill closely. Nodding, he remarked, a fine vitality pill of superior quality. This one is worth 2,000 ling shi. For the first question, you will need 2.5 pills. For the second question, specify which seal's information you seek. After some contemplation, Qin produced the portion of the sealing script he had imprinted from the magic suppression monument in the mine. Similar to this script system, or seals that suppress entities akin to the outer heart demons. Bai Xiaoxing's expression shifted slightly as he scrutinized the script, casting a deeper glance at Qin and young man. The entities you are meddling with are no trifles. After a moment of contemplation, he continued. Known similar seals in Kunlun include 3 locations: Yuming Gorge, Yuxing Lake, and Finshan Valley. Among them, I have heard that the seal in Yuming Gorge has been exhibiting unusual fluctuations recently, seemingly indicating signs of damage. This information will cost you 4,000 ling shi. Adding them up, that totaled to 6,500 ling shi, a significant portion of their savings. With a determined bite of his lip, Qin produced 3 more vitality pills along with some other materials to meet the price. Bai Xiaoxing accepted the items with satisfaction and lowered his voice. Regarding the Kunlun mirror fragments, I truly do not know their specific whereabouts. However, based on scattered records in ancient texts and rumors from the past century, the fragments may be scattered across several perilous locations: Jutianjuhe, Guishu Haiyan, or perhaps the core region of Kunlun's ruins. These are all places fraught with peril. I advise you to proceed with caution. As for Yuming Gorge, it is located 3,000 miles southwest of the Fangshi, deep within the Zhonghuan mountain range. The area is heavily infused with Yin energy, haunted by specters, and recently seems to be frequented by ghost cultivators and practitioners of the dark arts for reasons unknown. Here's a map. Bai Xiaoxing handed Qin a jade slip. Although the information came at a steep price, it was indeed worth it, providing them with a clear direction and objective. Upon leaving Bai Xiaoxing's hut, Yang Yingxue lamented the loss of their ling shi. That old miser has a black heart. Information has its value, Qin replied, adopting a more relaxed attitude. At least we know where we need to go next. Yuming Gorge, it seems we must pay a visit. Over the next 2 days, the 4 of them busied themselves in the Fangshi. Qin used the remaining ling shi to acquire various talismans, medicinal pills, and a more detailed map of the Kunlun region. Yang Yingxue, captivated by the array of peculiar weapons and body refinement materials, nearly depleted their ling shi once more. Meanwhile, Ali and Sun Xiao focused primarily on gathering various unique spiritual herbs and mineral samples from Kunlun. On the 3rd day, the auction at the Jubaogu commenced as scheduled. Jubaogu is the largest and most authoritative trading venue within the Fangshi, allegedly supported by a powerful cultivation family. The admission ticket alone required 100 lower-grade ling shi, indicating the high threshold for entry. Leveraging their identity as members of the Longhan, the 4 were smoothly granted access to the auction hall, which was filled to capacity and buzzing with excitement. The items up for bid were a dazzling array, ranging from high-level cultivation technique jade slips to rare refining materials, from powerful magical artifacts to exotic tamed beasts, inciting competitive bidding among the audience and creating a vibrant atmosphere. The 4 were not particularly interested in most of the items, primarily attending to broaden their horizons while seeking potential leads related to the seals or the Kunlun mirror fragments. As the auction progressed into its latter stages, a highlight item was brought forth, instantly igniting a stir throughout the hall. It was a battered, palm-sized bronze mirror frame, its mirror surface long lost, and the frame itself was covered in green patina, appearing rather unremarkable. However, the elderly auctioneer introduced it with great solemnity. Esteemed guests, this object was serendipitously acquired by our Jubaogu from an ancient relic site, passed down by a revered predecessor. Upon examination, the material of this frame is extraordinary, adorned with enigmatic runes, and it is highly likely to be connected to the legendary Kunlun mirror. As these words echoed through the hall, a wave of astonishment swept over the crowd. The Kunlun mirror, even if it is merely a frame, its mere existence is enough to incite a frenzy. The four from Qin and felt a surge of excitement, their eyes fixated on the frame. The elder continued, stating that although the mirror surface was missing, the frame still harbored a faint essence of spatial power, suitable for crafting supreme spatial artifacts or serving as a crucial item in the quest for the true fragments of the Kunlun mirror. The starting bid was set at 10,000 low-grade spirit stones, with each subsequent bid requiring a minimum increase of 500. The price was exorbitantly high. Yet, concerning the Kunlun mirror, even the steepest price found willing bidders. 10,001, 10,003, 10,005. The price soared rapidly, soon surpassing 20,000 low-grade spirit stones. The primary bidders were distinguished guests from several private boxes, evidently prominent figures. Qin and his companions, lacking financial means, could only watch helplessly. Ultimately, the damaged Kunlun mirror frame was acquired by a mysterious buyer from the third floor, who had remained unseen, for the staggering sum of 35,000 low-grade spirit stones. After the auction concluded, the four exited the Ju Bao Gu with mixed emotions. Although they had encountered items related to the Kunlun mirror, they were powerless to obtain them. Damn it! Once I have money, I will buy that Ju Bao Gu, Yang Yingxue exclaimed furiously. Qin, however, remained relatively composed, remarking, even if we had won the bid, it may not have been a blessing. Possessing such a treasure could bring about peril. We would likely attract unwanted attention as soon as we left the market. He recalled the mysterious box that had bid on the frame, feeling an inexplicable concern. Just as they prepared to depart for the Yuming Gorge in the Zhonghuan mountain range, a servant from Ju Bao Gu discreetly approached Qin and handed him a note. The esteemed guest who had acquired the frame wished to meet with Mr. Qin privately. Qin glanced at the note, which contained only one address, the North District of the Market, Tingyu Pavilion. Why would the enigmatic individual who purchased the frame want to see him? Chapter 78. The nether stream Tingyu Xian, located in the northern district of Fangshi, is a serene tea house nestled beside a secluded stream. Qin arrived alone, maintaining a vigilant disposition. Yang Yingxue and others were stationed nearby to provide support in case of unforeseen circumstances. Guided by a server, he entered an elegant private room. The aroma of sandalwood wafted through the air, and a woman dressed in a flowing white gown, her face veiled with a delicate fabric, stood with her back to him, gazing out at the stream. Her slender figure and ethereal demeanor conveyed an air of otherworldliness, leaving one with the impression that she was anything but ordinary. Mr. Qin, please take a seat. The woman turned, her voice cool and melodious, akin to pearls cascading upon a plate. She gestured towards the seat opposite her, where a pot of exquisite tea had already been prepared. As Qin settled down, he subtly extended his consciousness, only to find himself ensnared in a fog, unable to discern the depth of her abilities. It seemed that her cultivation level was likely on par with his, if not superior. May I inquire as to the purpose of your summons? Qin asked directly. The woman lifted her veil slightly, revealing a stunningly beautiful face, untouched by the mundane world. Her eyes resembled deep pools, seemingly capable of peering into the very soul. I am by Sushin. She introduced herself, then picked up the recently photographed, damaged Kunlun mirror frame. Mr. Qin appears to harbor a keen interest in this object. A chill ran through Qin's heart. Her observation was astoundingly meticulous. Maintaining a composed facade, he replied, the Kunlun mirror is a legendary artifact, and it is only natural for anyone to be intrigued. However, my financial resources are limited, rendering me unable to acquire it. Bai Sushin smiled subtly, as if the ice and snow were beginning to melt. You are too modest, Mr. Qin. I have invited you here not to boast, but rather to propose a transaction. A transaction? Indeed. Bai Sushin delicately placed the mirror frame upon the table. I am aware that you are in search of fragments of the Kunlun mirror and seem to be entangled in matters related to ancient seals. Coincidentally, I possess some knowledge on the subject and require your assistance. Qin refrained from responding immediately, opting to await her elaboration. Bai Sushin continued, to be candid, I hail from the Yaoqi sacred land. There was an innate pride in her tone as she mentioned this name. Yaoqi sacred land. Qin's heart trembled. This ancient sanctum was profoundly intertwined with Kunlun, purportedly the domain of the Queen Mother of the West, wielding power that far surpassed that of sects like Qingyunzong. For us at Yaoqi, this mirror frame serves as a crucial lead in the quest for lost sacred relics. However, we have deduced that several seals in Kunlun have recently shown signs of loosening, seemingly driven by a hidden force, possibly linked to extraneous malevolent entities. The sacred land is reluctant to intervene too directly in worldly affairs to avoid causing greater turmoil. She gazed at Qin. And you, Mr. Qin, bear a special mission. She implied his identity as Long Hun and possess unique powers, as if she had caught a glimpse of the chaos energy within him, making you one of the best candidates to address this matter. What do you wish for me to do? And what can you offer in return? Qin asked coolly. I hope that you can assist Yao Qi in gathering relevant information while exploring the Nether Stream and other sealed areas, and if possible, prevent the seals from being breached or collect the scattered fragments of the Kunlun mirror, by Sushin stated. In return, I can provide you with more detailed intelligence regarding the Nether Stream, including potential dangers within and shortcuts. Furthermore, I can assure you that should you find any Kunlun mirror fragments, Yao Qi will engage in an equitable exchange with you or offer protection when needed. The terms were indeed tempting. The intelligence and protection from Yao Qi's sacred land were invaluable, and their objectives aligned to a considerable extent. After a moment's contemplation, Qin inquired, How can I trust you? Bai Sushin appeared well prepared, producing a token carved with peach patterns, neither gold nor jade, and handed it to Qin. This is the guest token of Yao Qi. With this token, you may receive limited assistance wherever Yao Qi's influence extends. Additionally, I can vow an oath of Heart Demon, swearing that my words carry no falsehood. The oath of Heart Demon holds substantial weight for cultivators, and her willingness to swear signified her earnestness. Qin accepted the token, feeling its warm essence and the immense sacred power contained within. He nodded, Very well. I accept this transaction. A satisfied smile graced Bai Sushin's lips as she produced a jade slip and handed it to Qin. This contains detailed information about the Nether Stream, including several known safe paths and marked areas of danger. I hope it proves helpful to you. I will be watching from the shadows and will offer assistance if necessary. I wish you a smooth journey, Mr. Qin. After leaving Ting Yuxian and reuniting with Yang Yingxue and the others, Qin briefly recounted the situation, omitting specific details about Yao Qi, merely stating he was collaborating with a powerful force. Yao Qi's sacred land. Xi and Xian's cold demeanor softened slightly at the mention of this name, revealing her surprise at their involvement. It seemed that the situation in Kunlun was even more intricate than anticipated. Collaborating with them promised greater benefits than risks, yet caution was warranted, for these ancient sanctuaries were deeply calculating. Equipped with the detailed map provided by Bai Sushin, the four of them wasted no time and promptly departed from Kunlun Fengshe, heading towards the southwestern Zonghun mountain range. The Zonghun mountain range, as its name suggests, is a place steeped in ominous energy, rumored to be the burial ground for countless ancient cultivators and malevolent beings. As they drew nearer, the air grew colder and the light dimmed, as though even the sun was reluctant to cast its warmth upon this land. Distorted and bizarre plants began to emerge, alongside fetid swamps, and occasionally, they spotted roaming lower-tier spirits and skeletons, all of which Yang Yingxue effortlessly dispatched. Following the map's guidance, they skillfully avoided areas marked as extremely dangerous, such as the Grievous Soul Valley and the Bone Forest, progressing along a relatively safe path towards the Nether Stream. Along the way, they indeed encountered numerous signs of battle, as well as residual traces of malevolent energy and ninja artifacts, confirming that the Yaqi organization was indeed active in this vicinity. After 3 days, they finally reached the entrance to the Nether Stream as indicated on the map. It was a vast, bottomless chasm situated between two towering black peaks. Dense, almost tangible black energy cascaded from the chasm like a waterfall, emitting a sound reminiscent of anguished wailing. The edges of the chasm were coated in thick black frost, and the air was suffused with a biting chill and an overwhelming sense of deathly silence. Peering into the abyss from the edge of the chasm, one could only glimpse an endless darkness, as if it led directly to the underworld. A formidable suction and a chaotic, sinister breeze surged from the fissure, rendering one unsteady. This place is even more terrifying than that mine. Yang Yingxue gazed into the unfathomable darkness, momentarily retracting her typically carefree demeanor. Ali's complexion also grew pale, as the malevolent energy here exerted a natural suppression upon her kind. The diminutive detector emitted a piercing alarm. Warning: the concentration of malevolent energy below is exceedingly high. There exists intense energy interference. Multiple powerful undead life forms detected. Spatial structure unstable. Qin felt the chilling malevolence and profound silence emanating from the abyss, his expression gravely tense. Yumingjian, we have arrived. The true challenge is only just beginning. He took a deep breath and addressed the group. Prepare to descend. Stay close to me and exercise utmost caution. Chapter 79. Into the abyss at the entrance of the Yumingjian, the chilling winds bit at the skin like countless icy daggers. The unfathomable darkness loomed like the gaping maw of a monstrous beast, poised to devour any intruder. How on earth were they to descend into this ghastly place? Leap into the abyss. Yang Yingxue furrowed her brow as she gazed at the terrifying chasm. Certainly not. Qin and retrieved the map Jade Slip bestowed upon him by Su Xin, immersing his consciousness within it, swiftly identifying a relatively safe path. Follow me. There exists an ancient walkway nearby. Though dilapidated, it remains passable. Indeed, alongside the chasm, there lay a narrow path hewn into the cliffside, nearly obscured by moss and frost, winding downward until it vanished into the darkness. Its origins were unknown, and many sections had fractured, presenting a precarious appearance. The four proceeded cautiously onto the walkway. The surface was exceedingly slippery, with an unfathomable abyss below. The relentless winds howled around them, and a single misstep could lead to a fatal plunge. Qin led the way, his consciousness fully expanded, probing the terrain ahead for potential hazards. Yang Yingxue followed closely, ever ready for unforeseen circumstances. Ali and Sun Xiaoxiao walked in the middle. Ali conjured a protective shield to ward off the ambient malevolence and mental disturbances, while Sun Xiaoxiao utilized her equipment to scan the surroundings. As they delved deeper, light vanished entirely, enveloping them in utter darkness, illuminated only by their handheld artifacts and the faint glow from Sun Xiaoxiao's devices. The oppressive atmosphere thickened, almost liquid in its malevolence, chilling them to the bone as it relentlessly attempted to erode their protective aura. Eerie sounds filled the air, anguished wails, vengeful curses, and seductive whispers that unsettled the mind. Occasionally, formidable specters or corpse puppets would surge from the depths below to assault them, but under the combined efforts of Qin and Yang Yingxue, they were swiftly vanquished. These undead entities seemed ensnared by some force within the gorge, unable to escape with ease. After descending several thousand meters, the temperature plummeted to an unfathomable degree, causing their breath to freeze instantly. The walkway eventually ended at a vast platform hewn into the cliffside. The scene that unfolded was even more horrifying. Piles of white bones lay scattered about, some human, others remnants of colossal beasts. Broken weapons jutted from the ground, glimmering with an eerie light. The air was thick with a potent deathly aura and an even more ancient, pure essence of evil. At the center of the platform stood an immense altar constructed from countless bones. Surrounding the altar were 8 black banners, embroidered with crimson chrysanthemum patterns, the insignia of the Yamato Nation's Yachi organization. Upon the altar, several elderly priests clad in ceremonial garb fervently brandished their artifacts, chanting blasphemous incantations. They directed beams of concentrated malevolence and life energy into a continuously rotating black crystal orb suspended above the altar, which radiated a disquieting aura of evil that resonated with the surrounding malevolence, relentlessly battering against a vast, ethereal gate composed of countless golden chains lurking behind the platform. Beyond this gate lay glimpses of an even darker and more terrifying realm, as if imprisoning a cataclysmic entity. This was the core of the seal of Yumingjian. The Yachi were attempting to dismantle the seal through sinister rituals. It was indeed them. A glint of cold light flickered in Qin eyes. Seemingly sensing the intruders, a high priest abruptly turned, revealing a gaunt, sinister visage. His gaze fell upon Qin and his companions, brimming with cruelty and murderous intent. Zhongwu cultivators, how fortunate that you have found this place. Your blood and souls shall serve as the final offerings to the great ancient deity. Slay them. With his command, shadows erupted from around the altar, revealing a dozen elite ninjas from Yachi. One of them emanated the aura of a Jonin, comparable to the early stages of Foundation establishment. Additionally, a myriad of more powerful undead puppets and malevolent spirits surged from all directions toward Qin and his companions. Engage. Stop them. Qin bellowed, unleashing the chaotic energy as he surged forward to confront the Jonin. Yang Yingxue let out a war cry, her thunderous blood intent erupting like a divine thunder god, plunging into the throng of ninjas, leaving chaos in her wake. Ali exerted her full power in illusion and purifying light. casting vast halos over the battlefield to weaken the foes and support her allies. Meanwhile, Sun Xiaoxiao took cover behind a boulder, activating various interference devices to disrupt their malevolent ritual and communications, while providing battlefield data support to Qin and his team. The fierce battle erupted instantaneously. The Jonin Qin faced possessed formidable strength, employing elusive techniques. His movements were like a specter, his poisoned kunai and ninja blades gleaming with lethal intent, targeting Qin's vital points relentlessly. However, after the battle in the mine, Qin had grown more adept at wielding chaotic power. Though their cultivation levels were comparable, his superior essence allowed him to overpower his opponent's techniques, gradually gaining the upper hand. Yang Yingxue, like a tiger among sheep, wielded her thunderous might to devastating effect against the ninjas and undead, pushing them back despite being surrounded. Yet, the ritual upon the altar showed no signs of abating. The black crystal orb, under the priest's influence, became increasingly fissured, radiating stronger malevolent energy. The golden chain gate in the rear trembled violently, the sound of snapping chains echoing ominously. The terrifying entity beyond the gate seemed on the verge of breaking free from its confinement. The crystal orb must be destroyed. Qin's heart raced as he unleashed a powerful strike, forcing the Jonin back, making his way toward the altar. However, the Jonin and several Chunin clung to him desperately, preventing his approach. Just as the seal appeared on the brink of complete collapse, an unexpected event transpired. A beam of pure, immaculate light, imbued with boundless sanctity and purifying power, descended from above like a celestial being, striking the cracked black crystal orb with pinpoint precision. Crack! The orb, unable to withstand the pressure, shattered explosively. The unleashed chaotic malevolence surged uncontrollably, rebounding upon the priests conducting the ritual, causing them to scream in agony, grievously wounded. The ritual was forcibly interrupted. The once fractured golden chain gate stabilized momentarily. Everyone was taken aback by this sudden blow. Qin raised his gaze and beheld by Su Xin unexpectedly appearing on a protruding rock above the platform, wielding a jade rui that shimmered with moonlight, her garments fluttering gracefully like a celestial being from the moon palace. She had indeed followed in the shadows and struck at the most critical moment. How dare the vile minions of Yaqi taint the sacred seals of Shenzhou? Bai Suxin's voice was cold and imbued with an undeniable authority. Those from Yaoqi, the Yaqi high priest, was both astonished and enraged. Witnessing his efforts on the verge of collapse, a frenzied expression crossed his face. Even if you have arrived, it is too late. The seal has begun to loosen, and the demon lord is on the verge of awakening. You shall all perish. He abruptly produced a blood-red jade token and crushed it. An even greater and purer surge of malevolent energy flowed into the altar. Simultaneously, he roared towards the stabilizing light gate. Let the demon lord descend. Devour these insignificant insects. Beyond the light gate, a terrifying consciousness seemed to awaken fully, unleashing a roar that resonated through the very soul. A colossal demonic claw, entirely composed of darkness and negative energy, slowly emerged from the light gate, exuding an aura of annihilation, reaching towards everyone on the platform. The presence of this claw was far more terrifying than that of the outer heart demon lurking beneath the mind. It had surpassed the foundation establishment stage, attaining the level of core formation. Faced with this absolute disparity in power, despair gripped the hearts of all. At this critical juncture, the dragon-patterned medal on Qin's chest, along with the Yaoqi guest token in his embrace, began to radiate heat and tremble almost simultaneously. Shortly thereafter, he sensed the chaotic energy within his dantian swirling uncontrollably, as if drawn by an irresistible force. The source of this attraction was unmistakably the wrist of that emerging demonic claw, where a faint, almost imperceptible, fragment flickered with a kaleidoscope of colors. This fragment was embedded within the claw's energy form, emanating an ancient, mysterious aura, as if capable of freezing the flow of time and space. It was a fragment of the Kunlun mirror. It was astonishing that it resided within this sealed, demonic entity. Chapter 80. The monstrous and the fragments in the depths of Yuming Jian. A chilling and malevolent aura seemed to solidify, so thick that breathing became a strenuous task. Jagged stones surrounded the area, casting ominous shadows in the dim light, as if countless malevolent spirits lurked, waiting to pounce. A faint yet piercing wail echoed intermittently from the cavernous depths, assaulting the eardrums and the heart. Qin clenched his fists, the chaotic energy coursing through his veins gradually dispelling the insidious aura that threatened to invade him. Throughout his life, he had encountered numerous bizarre happenings, from a fox demanding a title to cultivating with his Tao companion and sister, but the scene before him nearly dropped his jaw in this eerie, damp place. From the ancient seal, now trembling and cracked, a monstrous entity struggled to emerge. Nearly 3 meters tall, its body was cloaked in heavy, dark purple scales, and its curved horns resembled the grim reaper's scythes, poised to reap lives. Its crimson eyes burned with pure destruction and a savage desire, radiating an energy that warped the air and produced a deep, resonant hum, threatening to shatter the very fabric of space. However, Qinan's gaze was irresistibly drawn to its muscular, sinewy right wrist. On it, embedded within the grotesque, evil patterns, was a palm-sized fragment of an ancient bronze mirror, its edges irregularly fractured. This shard emitted a soft, harmonious glow that starkly contrasted with its surroundings, pure and ancient, akin to a solitary spring under the moonlight in an endless abyss, so sacred that it made one tremble. The shard was partially embedded in the creature's tough flesh, and the luminous essence clashed violently with the surging demonic energy, eroding each other and producing a faint, yet piercing hissing sound. Qinan's lips twitched uncontrollably as he thought, this creature's appearance is rather peculiar. Isn't it? Even while bent on destroying the world, it still wears an ornament. Could it be the latest fashion item from the demon realm? Frankly, this aesthetic is far too avant-garde for us mortals to appreciate. Qinan, focus. Yang Yingshue's voice crackled with a hint of thunder, pulling him back from his chaotic thoughts. Enveloped in a dense blue electric arc, she emanated the unique blood energy of the ancient tyrant body, dispelling the chilling aura surrounding her. She fixed her gaze on the massive creature, her eyes not reflecting fear, but rather burning with fierce combat intent, even showing a hint of excitement at encountering such a novel opponent. Ollie hid behind Qinan, gripping the hem of his garment tightly, her 9 fluffy tails fluffed up in a nervous ball. In a timid whisper, she said, "Brother, that's the Kunlun mirror fragment. It feels so warm, so familiar. But it's been tainted by something truly vile." Even Sun Xiao, who usually prided herself on her calm and technical prowess, could not help but murmur as she analyzed the chaotic data streams through her multifunctional tactical glasses. The energy readings are entirely contradictory. The peak of the evil energy has surpassed the safety threshold, reaching critical levels. Yet the spiritual energy spectrum emitted by that shard has no record in the database. Its level is absurdly high. This simply defies the law of energy conservation. Oh no, this doesn't adhere to the principles of cultivation. Their original plan had been to stealthily infiltrate, disrupt the abhorrent ritual of the Yaqi organization, and attempt to reinforce the ancient seal in this location, then withdraw safely. Who could have anticipated that the Kunlun mirror fragment would manifest before them in such an unfathomable manner? Truly, it echoed the saying, when the iron shoes are worn, there is no place to seek. Yet achieving this was no simple feat. The effort was indeed terrifyingly overwhelming. It seemed the original plan must be revised. Qinan took a deep breath of the cold air, heavy with the scent of decay and sulfur, forcing himself to regain his composure. The chaotic cyclone within his dantian began to spin faster, dissipating much of the terrifying pressure that could shatter the minds of ordinary cultivators. His voice turned resolute. New objective. Seize that fragment. It was about time. Hearing this, Yang Yingxue broke into a wild grin, revealing her neat white teeth. Engaging such a formidable foe was exhilarating. A natural warrior, she had felt somewhat restrained during the defense of the Ling Tai courtyard. Now, facing this powerful adversary, all her fighting spirit ignited. "I will use illusions to distract it and aid everyone," Ollie declared, her voice still trembling, yet her gaze sharpened with determination. Her fluffy tail swayed gently, and her intangible spiritual power began to converge like ripples in water. Sun Xiao's fingers flew across the wrist-mounted terminal, rapidly executing commands, as countless data streams scrolled frantically across the holographic display, establishing a real-time battlefield dynamic model, analyzing its energy core nodes and potential action patterns. Time required. 30 seconds. No, perhaps more. But judging by its demeanor, it doesn't seem inclined to grant us that preparation time. Indeed, it did not. The monstrous entity appeared utterly enraged by the presence of these small creatures, exuding a life force. It raised its grotesque head, preparing to roar, but instead of a deafening sound. It unleashed a silent yet terrifying shriek that directly targeted their very souls. An invisible mental storm surged forth like a dam bursting, sweeping across the depths of Yumingjian. In an instant, from the rock walls and shadows, countless vengeful spirits, bound by the taint of demonic energy, seemed to receive a supreme command. Their soul fires flared, emitting even more haunting and frenzied wails, surging like a ravenous black tide toward Qin Un and his companions. Simultaneously, the creature lifted its enormous left hand, unencumbered by the shard, fingers splayed wide, radiating a terrifying force capable of crushing mountains and shattering the earth, as it descended upon the area where the force stood. "Ollie!" Qin shouted, warning her. "Understood." Ollie immediately closed her eyes, forming a mysterious seal with her hands before her chest, and a pure, gentle white light burst forth around her. The light of the heart lamp within the Ling Tai remained unextinguished. Purity. A gentle yet resilient spiritual barrier expanded instantaneously around her, effectively repelling the majority of the piercing shrieks of the intangible souls. Those frenzied, vengeful spirits, upon making contact with this radiant white barrier, were akin to remnants of snow succumbing to the fervent sun, emitting a final, heart-rending wail before swiftly dissipating into wisps of azure smoke. Ali's purifying power possessed an innate and unparalleled restraint against such negative spiritual energies and undead beings. Ying Shui, engaging directly, sought to capture its attention. Xiao Xiao continued to analyze, searching for gaps in energy flow and core weaknesses. "I will take the lead and attempt to sever the fragments." Qin issued commands with remarkable speed. Simultaneously, his body surged forth like an arrow released from a taut bowstring, narrowly evading the enormous demonic hand descending upon them. With a thunderous boom, the monstrous hand struck the very spot where Qin Un and the others had stood, producing a sound so deep it reverberated through the air. The entire Yamingjian quaked, and countless fragments of rock cascaded down from above as if a rain of stones had commenced. The solid ground was brutally imprinted with a massive handprint several feet deep, its edges fracturing into horrific spiderweb-like cracks. Amidst the swirling dust, Ying Shui shouted defiantly, not retreating but instead, using the force to propel herself into the air. Chaotic lightning converged and compressed above her right fist, crackling with explosive energy. "Take this, Balepa." She struck fiercely at the wrist of the demonic creature's arm, which was as thick as a pillar. The lightning erupted, her powerful punch mingling with the tearing force of the thunder, attempting to penetrate the creature's hardened scales. The demon let out a deep, guttural roar of pain, its arm jolting violently, casting Ying Shui, still airborne, backward. She adeptly flipped several times in the air before landing gracefully on a protruding rock, shaking her slightly numbed arm with a look of exhilaration. Such a hard shell. At that moment, Qin seized the fleeting opportunity to draw closer to the demon's right hand, embedded with fragments. The closer he approached, the more he could feel the radiant energy of the fragments clashing violently with the demon's malevolent power. He extended his fingers like a sword, the chaotic energy coalescing sharply at his fingertips, forming a gray blade over a foot long, aiming precisely at the junction of the fragments and flesh, and striking like lightning. With a hissing sound, the energy blade made contact with the creature's scales, producing a dazzling shower of sparks. The sturdiness of the scales exceeded imagination. Although the chaotic blade managed to penetrate slightly, it seemed ensnared within a highly resilient, gelatinous substance, making it difficult to delve deeper, let alone sever the connection and retrieve the fragments. The demon was evidently incensed by Qin's precise and perilous strike, abruptly twisting its massive body, its other enormous hand slicing through the air with a shriek, coming down swiftly. The speed was astonishingly incongruous with its bulky form. "Be careful." Xiao Zhao's alarmed voice echoed from behind. Qin's pupils constricted, the chaotic energy erupting beneath his feet as he retreated like a wraith. The fierce wind from the hand narrowly grazed his nose, the pressure akin to a solid iron plate crashing against him, causing his chest to tighten. This won't do. A head-on confrontation is far too inefficient. Its defense is too robust, and its energy level suppresses us. Qin's mind raced with strategies. He recalled his grandfather Qin Hao's words conveyed through dreams, imprint the heart with the heart. While feeling the chaotic energy within him resonate with the Earth's spiritual essence, a bold idea emerged. "Ollie, Ying Shui, coordinate with me." He shouted again. Do not resist directly. Try to guide its power. Ing Shui, utilize your lightning techniques to stimulate its joints and energy nodes. Ali, use your purest mental energy to soothe or resonate with that fragment. Let's see if we can provoke a repulsive reaction. Although Yang Ing Shui preferred a direct approach to combat, she held absolute trust in Qin En's judgment. She immediately adjusted her strategy, dancing like a butterfly around the demon's massive form, her palms striking in succession, unleashing concentrated bolts of lightning aimed not at maximum destructive force, but rather precisely targeting the demon's vulnerable joints such as the knees, elbows, and the sides of its neck, as well as the fluctuating points of malevolent energy on its body. The crackling sounds of the lightning were incessant. While it could not inflict severe damage, it successfully agitated the demon, causing its movements to exhibit subtle, perceptible sluggishness. Upon hearing Qin En's call, Ali took a deep breath, forcibly suppressing her fear of the creature, channeling all her focus onto the fragment radiating a serene glow. She closed her eyes, her 9 foxtails unfurling without wind, emanating an even purer, softer light. She did not attempt to attack, but transformed her mental energy into the gentlest and most sincere of intentions, like a trickling stream, cautiously reaching towards the Kunlun mirror fragment. Within that intention lay a yearning for pure spiritual energy, a protective heart for sacred objects, and a fervent desire to assist it in escaping corruption. At first, the fragment remained unresponsive. Gradually, however, as Ali's untainted mental energy continued to make contact, the Kunlun mirror fragment suddenly trembled violently. A resonant hum, reminiscent of ancient times, erupted from the fragment. Though faint, it clearly reached the perception of everyone present. Subsequently, the radiant glow emitted by the fragment surged dramatically. Initially merely resisting the encroachment of demonic energy, it now seemed infused with vitality, transforming into a highly aggressive light, akin to countless searing needles, piercing fiercely into the flesh of the demon's wrist. Roar! The demon unleashed the most heart-wrenching, pain-filled roar since the battle began. It violently swung the right hand embedded with the fragment, attempting to shake off the sudden, internal agony. The massive body quaked violently from this unexpected internal backlash, causing a noticeable disturbance in the surrounding malevolent energy. It's working! Xiao Xiao exclaimed excitedly from behind, the fragment's energy activity spiking dramatically. It is clashing intensely with the demon's core energy. Its energy core has become temporarily unstable. An opportunity. Qin En's eyes sparkled with determination. Now is the moment. Without hesitation, he unleashed the chaotic energy within him at unprecedented speed, connecting with the spiritual essence of the distant Ling Tai Xiao Yuan. A tremendous and boundless force of vitality, intertwined with the unique annihilating characteristics of chaos, converged between his hands. Chaos, the finger of life and death. He uttered a low exclamation, pointing forth with a single finger. This gesture, seemingly slow, actually transcended the ordinary concept of speed. Before his fingertip, the space subtly twisted, and a grayish beam of light, embodying the essence of the cycle of life and death, silently shot forth, aimed directly at the fragile edges of the shattered remnants, which had become loose from the flesh of the demonic creature due to the eruption of the clear radiance. There was no earth-shattering explosion, only a peculiar sound reminiscent of the fundamental structure of matter being forcibly disassembled and reshaped. The beam accurately struck its intended target. The connection between the remarkably resilient flesh of the demon, which even Qin En's full force could scarcely sever, was swiftly dissolved and decomposed under the influence of the finger of life and death, infused with the vitality of the earth's veins and the power of chaos, akin to wax melted in a roaring flame. A faint crack, like the shattering of glass, resonated. The fragment of the Kunlun mirror, radiating a dazzling brilliance, finally broke free from the demon's wrist, drawn by an unseen force, slowly drifting toward Qin En. Had he succeeded? However, just as a flicker of joy surged within Qin En's heart, an unforeseen change occurred. Released from the suppression and backlash of the Kunlun mirror fragment, the demon, though suffering from a charred and decayed wound on its wrist, was now more furious than ever, its chaotic malevolence escalating into a wild and unrestrained fury. Its blood-red giant eye fixated on the fragment soon to be within its grasp, and on Qin En, its will to destroy coalescing. It opened its enormous maw, revealing not fangs, but a rapidly spinning, bottomless vortex of darkness. Within this vortex, destructive energy gathered at a terrifying speed, compressing and exuding a deathly aura that threatened to collapse the entire Yuming Gorge. This strike surpassed all previous assaults. There was no escaping it. Qin En's expression changed dramatically. He could feel that this attack contained enough power to reduce him, along with Yang Yingxue, Ali, and Sun Xiaoxiao, to mere dust. It was over. Had he been too presumptuous? A thought uncontrollably flashed through his mind. At this critical juncture, a voice, cool as moonlight yet imbued with supreme authority, resonated in everyone's ears like celestial music from the heavens. "You wretched creature, dare you act with such impudence?" No sooner had the voice faded than a white rainbow-like light, seemingly originating from beyond the void, surged forth, striking precisely into the demon's gaping maw that was about to unleash its destructive energy. Boom! A deafening explosion, far more violent than any previous clash, erupted. The purifying white light clashed violently with the dark destructive energy, annihilating everything in its path. The blinding radiance instantly consumed all, and the turbulent energy whirlwind sent Qin, Yang Yingxue, and the others tumbling through the air. After a long while, as the light gradually subsided, it revealed that the demon's massive head had been forcefully shattered on one side by the white rainbow light. Its enormous body staggered backward, emitting a cry of anguish and defiance, crashing heavily against the rocky wall behind, causing a large-scale collapse that buried much of its form. Though not dead, its aura visibly waned. A graceful silhouette appeared silently not far in front of Qin and clad in white as pure as snow. With hair cascading like a waterfall, her figure slender and ethereal, she exuded an aura of cold detachment, reminiscent of a celestial maiden descending to the mortal realm. It was none other than Bai Suxin, who had previously proposed an alliance but had remained hidden in the shadows. She slowly retracted her delicate fingers, which still seemed to shimmer with a lingering white light. Without turning to look at Qin En, her cold gaze remained fixed on the severely injured demon and the fragment of the Kunlun mirror, which was gently falling into Qin En's hand. Qin En caught the fragment, still bearing a trace of coolness, his heart racing. He gazed at Bai Suxin's retreating figure, his emotions complex and difficult to articulate. This woman, her power was truly terrifying? That strike had undoubtedly surpassed the realm of foundational cultivation. Had she held back until the optimal moment? Or did she harbor ulterior motives? Bai Suxin seemed to sense Qin En's scrutiny, finally turning her head slightly to reveal a hint of her exquisite profile. Her ruby lips parted, and her voice remained cold, yet carried an undeniable authority. "The fragment is secured. We must not linger here. The seal is on the verge of complete collapse, and greater troubles are surely forthcoming." As if to validate her words, the entire Yuming Gorge began to tremble violently and collapse, an ancient, profound, and despair-inducing aura, far more overwhelming than that of the demon, seemingly awakening from the depths of the shattered seal. Chapter 81. Yaoqi Xianfa. The collapse of Yuming Gorge intensified, with colossal boulders plummeting from above like raindrops. The ground fissured, revealing bottomless chasms, as dense demonic energy mingled with dust, rendering the already dim space nearly impenetrable to sight. An ancient aura, slowly awakening from the depths of the seal, surged forth like an invisible tide, enveloping the surroundings with a chilling essence that froze one's thoughts. "Let us move." Bai Suxin's calm voice betrayed no hint of panic. With a graceful flick of her jade hand, a soft yet resilient white light shield instantly unfurled, enveloping everyone within. Boulders struck the shield, creating ripples akin to pebbles dropped in water, gently bouncing off without leaving a mark. Qin En had no time for contemplation as he swiftly tucked the Kunlun mirror fragment into his bosom. The shard felt warm to the touch, faintly resonating with the chaotic energy within him. He grasped the pale-faced Ali, who had exhausted much of her strength, and urged, "Yingxue, Xiaoxiao, keep up." Yang Yingxue reacted swiftly, her body crackling with lightning as she appeared at Qin En's side. Yet, when her gaze swept past Bai Suxin's elegant silhouette, she couldn't help but curl her lips in disdain, a barely perceptible huff escaping her. Sun Xiaoxiao quickly stowed her detection devices, trailing closely behind the group, her fingers dancing across the terminal as she recorded the rapidly changing environmental data. Bai Suxin led the way, the white light shield moving in tandem with her, akin to a small boat navigating through tumultuous waves, deftly avoiding the largest falling debris and continually widening fissures. Her movements were ethereal and agile, as if she were treading on solid ground in the crumbling Yuming Gorge, expertly evading danger at the last possible moment. Behind her, Qinan's heart surged with tumultuous emotions. Bai Suxin's demonstrated prowess and command over the situation far surpassed his expectations. The white radiance that had recently struck down the demonic creature bore a power nearing the Jiedon stage. The defensive light shield and her exquisite agility were clearly not attributes of an ordinary sect disciple. The Yaoqi sacred land, truly unfathomable. Turn left. In 3 breaths, a massive stone will fall to the right. Avoid it in advance. Bai Suxin's voice remained steady as she accurately predicted the impending danger without glancing back. Following her guidance, Qin narrowly avoided a colossal boulder crashing down. Unable to contain his curiosity, he inquired, "Miss Bai, are you well acquainted with this place?" Ancient texts from the sect contain records. Bai Suxin's response was succinct, offering no further explanation. Her gaze remained fixed ahead, as if searching for something. At that moment, the ancient aura emanating from the depths surged ominously. A low, chaotic presence, seemingly capable of stirring the darkest malevolence within one's heart, struck like an invisible dagger into the minds of the group. Ugh! Sun Xiaoxiao bore the brunt, stifling a groan as her complexion turned ghostly pale, a flicker of chaos and rage flashing in her eyes, her fingers on the terminal freezing in place. Although Ali possessed pure spiritual energy, her resistance to this direct invasion from the essence of darkness